Mega builds take a long time, but that's okay, because in this world, we have forever. Hey, welcome to ForeverCraft, and today we're getting started on a project that I've been putting off for a long time. When I first started working on the Lovecraftian harbor area, I had one particular building envisioned in my mind from the very start. But the problem is, that building is very large, and it's kind of like the background set piece for the entire area. So I was always like really nervous about getting started on it, but I think there is no time like the present, and we just need to rip this band-aid off and start working on it. The thing is, this build is huge, and doing these individual videos like this at a much higher frequency than I used to, we're gonna see a lot less progress, but I think it's gonna be fun to take you guys truly through every step of the process. We've got terraforming to complete, we've got materials to collect, we've got some design work to do. We'll see about that part. I'm not quite sure how I feel about bringing you guys into the creative test process. First of all, it kind of spoils the build for you. And second of all, it's hard enough for me to like creatively build stuff and design things for my world. And I'm not sure that I could really carry a realistic conversation while I'm doing that. It's a lot of pausing and thinking and staring, a lot of going back and forth on block palettes and stuff. And all of that takes enough focus that I'm not sure I could really do it justice. But the first part is preparing the area that we're gonna build in, which means we're gonna use all these shulkers we created last episode. And also I need to finish cleaning out all these white ones just to make sure we've got plenty of place to put the materials. Because when you're cleaning out large areas like this, you get a lot of materials. You may have even seen in previous episodes that there's this ominous beacon up on the hill. Currently I have a mod that helps me disable beacon beams because I think they kind of break the in-world immersion of Minecraft. So this beacon is active and running with a haste to aura, but you just can't see the beam. We need to take this hill down so that there's a reasonable elevation change between the little waterfront area here and our mega build. I'm calling it a mega build because it's mega for me. It is a very large build. Everyone has their own different definition of what they consider a mega build, but for me, this is definitely a mega build. We need to lower this whole area at least down to like 1 or 2 blocks above the graveyard here, which is gonna mean taking off probably 6 or 7 layers here, which for this top part won't be too bad with all the dirt, but it's gonna get wider and wider as we dig down here, so we've got a pretty significant amount of digging to do, which is why we need all those shulkers to help us collect these materials because we don't give anything to waste. Once we have this area totally tore down, I need to get some measurements in world and get a feel for what size this build can actually be to fit the area. And I think that may mean extending whatever is left of this hill out to here so that we can really have a good solid base for this building. It is going to be very wide and it's supposed to kind of loom over the entire harbor. It's kind of like the ominous mega structure in the back of the build that really kind of helps set the tone for the area. So it needs to be above everything and also big enough to be like kind of seen from every angle of the harbor, because you always kind of want to know that it's back here taking up space. All right, let's go empty those shulkers out, get them all dyed up and get them ready, and then we're just going to do some good old-fashioned digging. I used to have a set of shovels in here so that I didn't have to go repair as often. I'm going to try to find those in my chest too. It can kind of help to just have a bunch of shovels because shovels wear out maybe the fastest of any tool. So having a few extras between repair runs can be pretty handy. This build is about to be the focus of the next few weeks on this channel, but I will give a couple caveats. When you're working on a project this big and that takes this much effort and focus, it's really important that you just take an occasional break. So there may be some days when I'm just not feeling motivated and we'll do something else in the world, and then we'll always come back and kind of keep trying to bounce back off of this particular build. All right, let's set up a little staging area for materials. We've got a few layers to take off, so we're gonna fill shulkers pretty fast, but I like to keep kind of a little shulker farm nearby so I can just quickly run over, drop the materials, and keep digging. When you're doing big projects like this, every little bit of efficiency you can gain really helps a lot. And I forgot to look for shovels. 1 second. The sun sets before the day of the grand adventure. All right, I've got our shovels a little bed up here because, again, we're trying to do efficiency. I know I've said before that I like to like sleep in places in my world, and I really don't like to carry a bed, But for projects like this, I will put a bed nearby because, again, our goal here is to just get this dig done so we can get to the fun part, which is actually building the building. Of course, there's going to be a significant amount of material collection before that as well, but we can't do anything until the ground itself is ready for the build. And I really like to have a blank canvas before I start planning and designing my builds, just so I can kind of see the area and what it's actually going to look like after I start building. All right, let's start digging. Everyone kind of has their preferred methods for terraforming large areas like this, but mine has always been to go in first and remove this layer of dirt. I feel like I don't like switching tools constantly, so I will just take a shovel and take all of the dirt off first, and then you'll have areas like this where the mountain or hill was higher and there are more stone. I'll just leave these and then come back with just a pickaxe and remove those. That kind of helps keep our shulkers down there organized, and it stops us from having to switch tools constantly while we're doing the dig. There is something extremely satisfying about tearing back a huge layer of Minecraft earth like this. Part of me wonders if I should just release an unedited version of myself just breaking blocks like this constantly for an hour, because that's what my future looks like right now. It can be kind of a bad habit when you're doing a large dig like this to kind of stop caring about the blocks that are dropping like this, but I promise you, if you're going to be playing in a forever world on Minecraft, there is going to come a time when you're going to need 30 shulkers of dirt blocks. You may not feel like that'll ever be the case, but I promise you, things happen and stuff comes up. For instance, I already know on this project we may end up extending the hill this way, and that's going to be a pretty significant little chunk of dirt right there if that's the way we go. And there's always going to be more projects like that, and if you're already going through the effort to collect the dirt, you might as well bring some shulker boxes with you and start storing that stuff for future use. It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. I will say that I love the yearly resets we do on ForeverCraft here, or even sometimes the little intermission resets that I do by myself, because going to a new area like that, building in a completely new style, trying out new builds, collecting new materials, starting fresh for the early Minecraft feel, it's always a nice break and kind of get your brain juices flowing for the rest of your world, because while you're there, you're always kind of thinking about your other builds and your other areas. And you kind of just naturally start getting ideas, and over time, the longer you stay in that new area, the more you're going to be excited to finally get back here and start working on one of your big projects. And that has definitely been me the last few days. Now that we've got the shop set up, the ice highways are kind of squared away, it feels like we're just at a perfect spot in our world to really take a bite out of a big project like this. And while undergoing something this massive is a little bit daunting, it's also kind of nice to have a big project like this that we can really just dedicate time to, and every time I log in, there's going to be pretty obvious stuff for a while here that I need to work on. I've been thinking recently about putting some of my builds up on Patreon, and first of all, let me know down below if that's something you would even be interested in. And second of all, if you were interested, how would you want it? Would you want like a world download with the builds all in a flat world? Or would you prefer just schematic files for the Litematica users? I feel like a schematic for Litematica is like the easiest to implement if you're trying to use it directly, but not everyone uses Litematica, and I can see if someone just wants to like take a look at the builds in person, then a flat world that they can just kind of throw in their worlds folder and boot up might also be useful. It's kind of funny, you have builds like this in your world. Like, since I started this area, I have had an idea in my brain of what this build is going to look like. And because of its size and scale and just being afraid to start a project like this, I never really got around to just getting it done. This new video style is kind of freeing in a way that I don't need to complete a build for every episode. In the past on this channel, the release cadence of videos has always been directly tied to finishing a build. So if I started digging out a giant quarry in Season 3, I had to finish digging out the quarry and getting everything ready before I could really call the episode done. And so, doing any kind of project to scale of this size meant that I either couldn't release YouTube videos for 2 months, or I just couldn't do big builds like this. And so I just never tried to tackle anything of any like truly large scale in Minecraft. And I know big builds aren't for everyone and they can be a lot of work, but it's so cool to have statement pieces in your world that are just awe-inspiring. The thing about a Forever World is it's nice to log in and just see everything you've created, and having big statement piece builds is just that much more inspiring in your areas. But yeah, I just hope you guys are enjoying this new video format, because it really is kind of opening up Minecraft in a way that I didn't really expect. I'm able to log out of the world, get stuff done, and still hang out with you guys along the way without the pressure of having to complete a project for every video and every time I log in. It just means I can do more fun stuff on the server, we can do pranks on people, I can go throw some eggs in Plato's base. I don't feel like I need to be hyper productive because I can't release a video until I get this build done. And that's truly the mindset that I had before starting this new style of video. And can I just say that the server is probably one of the best places it's ever been? I just feel like everyone right now is kind of locked in and just enjoying themselves. I really hope that this can continue for a while because it's just nice when the server is really humming along and everyone's just feeling really motivated to get stuff done. And I know that lulls will come and probably another lull will come, but you gotta make sure you enjoy the good times when they're happening. Speaking of other members, I have a top secret side quest to go on today, but unfortunately it's gonna have to be included in the next episode because it would be a little bit of a spoiler to show it on video before it happens. So if you want to see what I think is going to be hilarious, tune into the next episode. Also, if you're enjoying this new style of content, it would be very much appreciated if you could like the video, and if you're really enjoying it and want to see a lot more of it, if you could subscribe. I really don't say that enough. Everyone always assumes that everyone knows about that stuff, but sometimes you just forget. So here's my gentle reminder. And man, isn't this rain wonderful? I mean, I can really see what's going on, can't you? All right, let's see if we can find my bed. I think it is nighttime, so let's go find a bed and sleep this rain away. Not only is it nighttime and I'm disoriented, we've dug away all the terrain, so the whole area looks completely different to me now. I can see lights in the distance that are our build, so the bed should be, here it is. That really blends in the nighttime. A beautiful rainbow. Now back to work. There's dirt to be dug. How is this looking? We're still quite a few levels up above that graveyard, but we're actually starting to make some pretty good progress here. And we've only murdered one shovel so far, so that's pretty good. Man, this combination of mods using the Voxy mod with the Eclipse shaders, Minecraft really is just more beautiful than it's ever been before. And I know I go back and forth myself on using shaders and not using shaders, but between the added view distance of Voxy mod and the Eclipse shaders just giving those like beautiful cloud shadows that are actually like dynamic and moving across the world, it really is just beautiful just to see the generic Minecraft terrain. Who would have thought this game that's almost 16 years old would still just be the perfect sandbox for creativity, exploration, storytelling? If you want it, there's probably a way to do it in Minecraft. Let's swap off this shovel before it explodes this time. Man, I think I've already said it probably 3 times this episode, but there is something so satisfying about terraforming in Minecraft. Just completely changing the area by just simply digging out like 10,000 blocks. It's amazing what removing a mountain from area can do to change your perspective, you know? I will say that when you're doing large terraforming projects like this, especially flattening a hill, there is going to be quite a bit of cleanup work after the fact to help blend the area back in and make it feel natural. Whenever I'm creating an area or a build in Minecraft, I truly want it to feel kind of cohesive with the builds around it and with the world itself. So once we plop this mega build on top of this giant flat spot, we'll then have to go back through and do a lot more terraforming to kind of smooth the terrain around the build so it feels like it was built to that size with intention and wasn't just like a giant flat area with a plain build on top of it. It needs to feel like it's part of the area that it exists in. All right, that feels pretty good for dirt layers for now. Now I need to come back through and remove this stone down to this dirt layer and see how that feels. We're still probably 4 or 5 blocks elevated from the graveyard, But once I remove this stone and get all this down to this level, I'll be able to stand down there, look up here, and see if it still feels like I'm looking up too high. Again, we want this build to kind of loom over the city, so it does have to be elevated some. I just don't want it to be up in the air, if that makes sense. Plus, we need to make a road that comes up here, and especially if you're trying to do like rocky or even like tar roads, having them go up too steep of a hill can look a little bit awkward. I would like to at least be able to climb up here with slabs instead of stairs. So we need it to be a one slab slope, if that makes sense, on the way up. Day 14,077. That's actually kind of crazy because it feels like it was 2 days ago I captured day 14,000 for the server. That means we've done 77 days on the server in 3 days. It just kind of goes to show you how active everyone's been and how much everyone's been just grinding away on here. And there it is. Not a perfect, beautiful build that fits nicely in a YouTube thumbnail, but a big, flat piece of ground and the promise of what will be. If you made it this far in the episode, I appreciate you. Thanks for sticking around. Have a good one. Playing Minecraft with others can be so rewarding. Even though it may be difficult to find community, they're out there. And when you have other people to share your creations and passion with, the whole world can open up for you. It can take time to find the right people, but that's okay, because in this world, we have forever. Hey, welcome to ForeverCraft. But before we get into today's episode, we're actually going to flash back to last episode. If you remember correctly, I mentioned that we had a side quest, but it was top secret until it was successful, and well, it was successful. But let's take a look at the setup first. Alright, if you watched last episode, you'll know that I am currently going on a side quest. This is taking place actually right around the same time I recorded that episode, but I couldn't release it until now. And now is after it was successful, hopefully. You'll see that I have an assortment of blocks for a contraption, and I've got an idea. You see, I was watching Plato's video the other day, and saw him working on his wheat farm at Hogwarts. And I happened to notice that he was using a little thing called an Ender Pearl stasis chamber. Ender Pearl stasis chambers are really effective for keeping chunks loaded in your world, for keeping things like a wheat farm running. However, they do leave you a little bit vulnerable because anytime someone happens to mess with said Ender Pearl stasis chamber, you're automatically teleported to that location. And I think I have a clever enough way that I can get him to be online, recording his next episode, and surprised when he is immediately teleported to Hogwarts and stuck in a little obsidian box. You'll see as part of this here is a daylight sensor. I think I saw in Plato's last video that he has included a new, is that the staircase right there? Yeah, I think that highway might be the highway that goes to Hogwarts. I'm trying to think on the map visually where Hogwarts is. Let's go down this way first. I can't remember if Hogwarts is on. That might be it right there. Let me go back this way. How on brand. Why am I getting mobs in the nether? Let's check this portal and see if this is Hogwarts. Oh look, they're labeled. Lush Cave, I know that's not it. Alright, this is the Badlands. This is not it, but let me see where this is in the world. Alright, I have not seen this Badlands yet. This is massive and beautiful, but not where we're trying to go. So let's continue the hunt for Hogwarts. I do know that Hogwarts is somewhere like across the ocean from Season 2's starter area, so I guess maybe the better bet is to head in that direction until we get close. This could be it. No signs. Nope. Okay, so this is Season 1 of ForeverCraft, which I was not a part of. Oh, I bet that's it right there. So this is Season 2 starter area, and I know that Hogwarts is like across the ocean. I'm guessing that this goes across. This has got to be it. It's certainly close location-wise. Aha, perfect. Okay, now we need to get to his wheat farm, which is underneath the castle, and I don't have an elytra, so actually, I don't know what the best way to get there is going to be. I hadn't really considered that. We may have to water bucket down. If you haven't seen Hogwarts yet, here it is. It's enormous. And when you're walking around on foot, you really get a feel for the absolute insane scale of this thing. Ah, here it is. Just up ahead in the distance here. Exactly what we were looking for. Now, somewhere underneath this farm are some ender pearl stasis chamber holes. That is step 1 of this. So that's a bubble column, so there's probably one there. Let me get my torch out. I know that he had for sure one in this, but I can't remember in his videos if he had one in this hole. All right, it's a slight risk here, but I'm relatively confident he wouldn't have made this bubble column unless he needed it. Let me build our little contraption here, and then I'll kind of walk you through what it is gonna do. All right, this is a perfect test. So you'll see this daylight sensor just went out. This signal died and this hopper unlocked, which means blocks are now falling in here. When that clock empties, it will ignite this source, light this block up, and eventually close this trap door, instantly teleporting Play-Doh to this location. And this is why we test things, because I just noticed our signal is a little bit not long enough. So it's gonna hopper back and forth one more time, and you'll see when this thing connects, hopefully, this trapdoor closes. Perfect. And just like that, we've got ourselves a Play-Doh trap. We'll just close this the rest of the way up, and tune in to Play-Doh's episode to see if our contraption works. I actually just had a moment where I was like, oh right, we were gonna do a thing. So now I have to break back in here. He's gonna have tools on him, so it's not like this is like a trap. But hopefully wherever he is in the world is kind of funny when he gets teleported directly back here. Actually, let's put those torches in the corners. This thing's just gonna keep opening and closing, because I want to be able to put signs in here. Oh, hey there. Funny seeing you here. Have a good one. There it is. All right, I gotta empty these hoppers out, and then when the sun comes back up, we'll have to reset this thing up so that it's fresh for when the actual moment occurs. In my head, this made the most sense because ideally log in during the daytime, he'll play a little bit, and then if he doesn't sleep in time, this hopper will begin to empty, igniting the whole contraption. And there it was. It's little things like this that make playing on a server with other people a lot more entertaining. It can be tough to find a good group of people to play with, but it is fun to do little side quests and just keep yourself entertained and remember to have fun in the world. If you want to see Play-Doh's reaction, go check out one of his latest videos. He's releasing a video every day, but it was one of the more recent ones, so I guess try to time up the timeline. Maybe I'll try to put a link in the description of that video in particular. That way you guys can find it and see his reaction. It's right at the beginning of his video. Alright, we started digging off a couple tiers of our build site over here in preparation for this massive build in our harbor. I'm still kind of going back and forth on the elevation. I'm feeling like it's still a little bit too high up in the air, and I think we may take 2 more layers of dirt off. I'm just really having a hard time picturing this road going up such a steep hill here. Even if we level out this terrain and bring it out some, I feel like it's going to be a little bit jarring to jump up this high. But I do want it to be the highest elevation in the town. So we can come down at least 2 layers, maybe 3, and that'll still keep us above the graveyard, which is the other kind of highest point. And then obviously the build itself is very large, so even only 2 tiers above that, it's going to stick up way above it in terms of like the total skyline of the city. But before we can do any more digging, we actually have to go do a little bit of repairing. And I think to repair, we're going to go back to Season 2 spawn in the space base and use our little Armadillo XP farm. Right now, it's a little clunky to use our Enderman Ender for XP because we don't have a good way to get up and down without an Elytra, which is on my list of things to do because the Armadillo farm is nice and compact and you can put it anywhere in your world, but you have to create potions for it and it's also kind of noisy. The other benefit to the Enderman farm is that when you come out of the end, you'll teleport back to your bed. So if we go in here and set our spawn in this bed, and then we go and repair our tools, when we jump back in the end portal, we'll actually teleport right back here, so it saves some travel time as well. The real answer probably is to just build those Armadillo XP farms at every base. But for now, we're just going to use the one we have because it's the closest, and I don't want to mess with that Enderman farm. So let's go repair some tools and see how that's going. You'll see when we go in here, Play-Doh has been putting in some serious work on the highways. You probably saw a little bit in our little prank flashback there, but the highways now go to like a lot more destinations than they used to, and we actually were working together yesterday on a design to help us stop these boats at intersections. I don't believe any of it's been implemented yet, we just did some like creative testing, but we do have kind of a fancy redstone way to solve these. Hopefully Plato gets ambitious and starts putting those in, because it's not really something I want to tackle, at least not at this moment. So as you can see, we do miss these intersections now, and we also haven't decorated these yet. By our harbor town, you'll see that the walls are all tough blocks, and they kind of mimic the style of the harbor. I kind of want to do that at other builds as well. So like the space base could be kind of like rocky and very otherworldly, I guess it would be, if that makes sense. But at least color palette wise, we would use like pale moss and stone and things like that, so that we know, oh, we're approaching the space base because the color palette is starting to match that area. And then you know to slow down. This is Hogwarts. What am I doing? This is what happens when you're talking and flying down a highway at 100 miles an hour. You totally lose track of what you were doing. All right, we were talking about the space base because that's where we are going for our farm. If you haven't seen one of these farms before, they're actually pretty handy. It can be accomplished with armadillos or with allays. If you're having a hard time finding armadillos, allays will technically work, but we've had some trouble with allays despawning and just wandering off on the server, so I thought armadillos would just be more reliable. This farm to work, you need a zombie and a whole bunch of armadillos on a campfire. When armadillos are afraid of something like a zombie, they'll ball up and they kind of become invincible. And for this farm to work, you need the mob to be taking damage, because when you splash them with a potion of infestation, which I don't appear to see any, oh, here we go. With these potions of infestation, they'll actually spawn a whole bunch of silverfish, which you then can kill and get XP from. So this is our little dispenser for our potions. So we just splash the armadillos with that. They're getting scared so they don't die, and then they're also taking damage, so they'll spawn these silverfish. And then you use a sword that has some kind of like sweeping edge or radius on it. This one actually doesn't have sweeping edge, so it won't work super good. Let me check. I left a sword over here. Bane of the Arthropods? I don't know. I think Arthropods actually probably does work better against silverfish. Sweeping edge would be the best bet, but you want to hit this because it'll kind of hit things in a radius around the armor stand when you swipe it, which means you can kind of hurt the silverfish through the wall. And then if you kind of hop up here, you'll start getting the XP flowing in, and we just throw our tools in here and they'll slowly repair. Or not slowly, I should say. It is pretty fast, which is why these farms are nice. There's just a little bit more maintenance and setup for them, getting the old armadillos in the hole and also crafting the potions. But once you have a system, they're not bad. We really should just craft one of these at all of our like main project locations probably. Especially now that we have armadillos, we just need to steal a couple from the farm and we're good to go. One other thing I forgot to mention, while I'm here, I'm actually going to enchant my helmet and also put feather falling on my boots. It's been a little bit annoying, especially not having an elytra, jumping off of like slightly higher areas, not being able to glide down. We're taking a lot of damage and we're just flying through food from all that like tiny bits of damage we're taking. So I want to get feather falling on my boots, and also I want to get a helmet enchanted because at some point apparently we broke our helmet. One benefit to being in this area is we're actually near an enchant table and we're kind of near our villager trades, of which I'm pretty sure I have a feather falling one, but now that I'm looking at my levels, I probably need more levels to enchant. So let's do one more round of silverfish here. All right, the sun has set on Alpha Site 17. Let's get some sleep and head down to get those enchants. We really need to bring a faster horse here. After riding around on like a 14-speed horse, anything less than that just feels brutally slow. This guy's actually like 11 speed, I think, but it still just feels so slow in comparison. All right, let's first just go slap on an enchant on the helmet and see if we get lucky. And then we'll just buy some books to fill in whatever gaps are still left. I like to have respiration and just flat protection on my helmet. All right, that's bad news because that's not even maximum protection, so we'll just have to burn a level here. All right, unbreaking, that's at least one enchant we'll definitely want. Fire protection, not ideal. We've got one more chance and then we're gonna have to do it the hard way. Oh, I just ruined my armor stand. We've got one more chance, and then we're gonna have to do it the hard way, which is just buying each individual enchant from the villager trades, which is an option. All right, protection 3. We can't even make it happen. Let's just save our levels, and we're gonna have to just buy more books, which isn't a big deal. We've got pretty good access to books and emerald trades. I'm thinking about potentially moving the villager trading hall into the new build. I think that could actually be like a really good use for that building, and the shape is kind of long and quote unquote narrow. It's a massive build, so obviously it's not narrow, but anyway, it's a good shape for like a long haul of villagers that we could trade with, and it's big enough that we could store a pretty huge variety of traders inside there. I didn't bring any books, so let's just buy a couple bookshelves. All right, so we need feather falling for our boots. We'll need mending for the helmet. I'm actually gonna grab sweeping edge for my sword. while we're here. I kind of forgot about that. We were just talking about it. We'll need unbreaking for the helmet, protection for the helmet. Oh, we need more emeralds. I actually don't know if I have a respiration enchant, so I guess we may just have to do without for that. Oh, it's all coming back to me now. We actually don't have a Feather Falling 4, but you can actually combine books. It just uses a lot of books. So 2 Feather Falling 2s makes a Feather Falling 3, and then we'll need 2 more to make a Feather Falling 4. So not ideal, but it wasn't worth cycling a bunch of trades when you pretty much never put Feather Falling on, so you do it once a season and then it's over. So I don't mind crafting a couple extra. All right, do we have an anvil handy in here? This is Bob, by the way. He's our villager converter. He's been here for a long time. I think there may be an anvil back here in our starter house. Yes, perfect. All right, we'll do the boots first. I think these are going to be relatively expensive because we already have a bunch of enchants on here. First, we have to combine our Feather Falling books. All right, fire protection, feather falling, depth strider, unbreaking, mending. Those are some pretty good boots. I like to have fire protection on something because if we fall in lava, we have a chance. Blast protection in case a creeper sneaks up on us, and then I usually just go regular protection. I'm also just now seeing that our pants are only protection 3, so we should have bought another protection book to upgrade those to 4, but that's fine. Unbreaking, mending, protection. We need a few more levels. We'll just stop by the armadillo farm, get some more levels, and head back to their base and use the anvils there to fix stuff up. Come on, horse with no name. It always seems to rain here on Site 17. For a barren stone planet, they sure do have a lot of water. Almost forgot to get our levels. Whoops. All right, phase 2 of this episode. We've got to do a little bit more digging. I need to create a bunch of shulkers, get those next 2 or 3 layers dug off of there, and then we can remove that beacon. And then it's time to start getting materials. There's going to be a pretty significant material gathering phase of this project that is going to take some time. Oh, look, it's our leftovers from the prank. There's going to be a pretty significant material gathering portion of this build. I already know the build is going to need a lot of tough blocks. And because I built an entire coastline in this area with tough, we have exhausted most of our tough blocks for sure. I think 8 shulkers ought to be enough for now, but we can always come back and make more if we run out of space. For some reason I thought I had slapped an anvil down. There it is. Let's put this stuff on as well. Get our protection on our helmet and our sweeping edge on our sword. Now we're safe to traverse the dangerous world of Minecraft again. Clean up the rest of these blocks. We've got all this extra gray dye, so I think I'm just gonna keep dyeing my shulkers gray. Oh, actually I want light gray. Light gray dye. Let's grab our extra shovel, because we're gonna get back into the dirt again. I am so pumped to have this giant silhouette of a build here. This area has been pretty empty. Like the build, the whole harbor I think is really starting to look good, but it's definitely lopsided over there with the factory and the tall apartment building. So having this on this side is really going to help balance this area out. And then I think the lighthouse may be one of the next builds we do in this area. But the lighthouse is going way down on that pointy rock area down there. So it's more of a harbor adjacent build. We do have free roaming sniffers here. All right, let's take 2 tiers off to start and see how that feels. Massive flat surface that is a little bit lower than it was 2 hours ago. Well, that's the reality of working on big projects, is some tasks take a long time, but I was able to watch a little bit of Invincible, get caught up on some stuff, and just grind this thing out. We went through 2 pickaxes and 2 shovels, but we got the job done, and I think I'm much happier with this level than I was. It was 3 blocks higher than that, which in Minecraft, you know, 3 blocks is a pretty good little jump in elevation. We're still well above the rest of the town, but we're going to be not as exaggerated up in the air, and building roads and stuff like that are going to be a lot easier. We'll smooth this layer of ground out closer to this road so that each of these tiers can be a little bit wider as we climb up to the build. And yeah, super happy with it. One more thing off the list. Now we have to gather a whole bunch of tuff and a lot of other materials. But that is all I have time for today. If you made it this far, I appreciate it. Thanks for sticking around. Have a good one. Sticking to a Minecraft world long term can be extremely difficult. With every day that passes, with every project that you complete, you build up a little bit more friction between yourself and your own world. Projects you didn't get done, materials you don't want to collect, things you don't want to do. And over time, those can stop you from logging back in and enjoying your world. Which is why I think one of the most important things is to remember you can just log onto your world and have fun. You don't have to get anything important done. Just get in there, walk around, and enjoy what you've built. Those projects take a long time. And don't worry, because time's not an issue here. Because in this world, we have forever. Hey, welcome to ForeverCraft. We have a few things to get done today, but first, I want to run a little science experiment. You see, we were repairing our tools up from that big dig at the harbor base, and I feel like the armadillo farm just isn't as efficient as it used to be. And I need to load up some more armadillos in there so that we get more XP. And I want to see if our little launcher will keep a lead going in the air. And if it will, I think this is how we're going to restock this thing. Unfortunately, it looks like it launches the armadillo, but does not keep the lead. One more time for science. Nope. Okay. Well, that would have been fun. I guess we'll do it the hard way. We just need to lead some of these guys in here. The more armadillos you have in one of these XP farms, the more XP you get because it spawns more silverfish. Let me load this thing up and then we'll get to what we're actually working on today, which is collecting the initial materials for the big build at the Lovecraftian Harbor. I also wanted to talk today a little bit about how to stick to your forever world. And you might have a little bit of a hint based on some of the things we do pretty much every episode around here, which are things I like to call side quests. This little guy's really fighting me. It's important to have goals and plans and, things that you can check off of a list in your world, just so that when you log on, you really know what you're working on. But it's equally important to just have fun and do silly things in your world, even if there isn't really a practical purpose. Play with elytra launchers, try to see if you can drag an armadillo up into the sky. This has got to be infuriating to watch. I am absolutely failing at getting this armadillo in the hole. Did he fall in? Oh great, his lead's still connected. Oh geez. And there it is, number 24 in the hole. Let's clean this up a little bit, replace our little roof, and now hopefully this thing should be a lot more efficient. I'm not sure if I lost armadillos or if I just got lazy when I first built this and didn't put the cap inside of the farm. Oh, it looks like we may have lost our roof block. We'll just put that there for now. I'd rather not have a hole open to that because those armadillos are really annoying to put in there. Another tip to staying in your forever world long term is clean up your messes. These little things can feel like nothing when you're doing it at the time. Like I built that little pen to breed up the armadillos. But if you leave ugly stuff like that in your world, it will really add up over time. And then you've just got chores to do to clean everything up, and nobody wants chores. I mentioned last episode that me and Plato came up with a redstone solution for these ice path highways, but I think I may implement a temporary fix until then, because just like that, I'm starting to get pretty frustrated by flying by these corners, and that redstone input is going to take a little while to figure out and build. I think I've got a quick fix that at least makes us not fly by all of our turns constantly, until we implement the much cooler redstone fix. All right, the first major resource we need to gather for the build is gonna be tough blocks, which are not the best thing in Minecraft to farm. When you do find a tough vein, they're generally pretty large, but there's really no way to get tough other than just old-fashioned mining. I think step one is gonna be taking this beacon and moving it down beneath the surface and try to just find some tough veins that we can really quickly insta-mine out of the earth. Before we can move the beacon, I actually want to dig this stone area out. As you can see, I kind of already started because we're going to want to replace all of this top layer with grass so that we don't have like all this ugly stone. The build will cover a lot of this area, but I still don't want to leave a bunch of ugly stone there, and it's going to be much easier if we just get a layer of dirt down here. So let's rip this thing out and put down some dirt. Another big tip to keep in mind when you're trying to stick to a forever world is take breaks before you burn yourself out. If you find yourself placing 3,000 dirt blocks to simply flatten out an area, and you just can't place one more dirt block, just stop. Go do something else. And that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go do something else. I need to find a good spot to set up our beacon that I just took down so that we can start gathering tough blocks. You'll notice that I am wearing my elytra, but we don't have any rockets still. I'm just keeping it on me so that we can start using our elytra launchers around the world. In fact, I've put one over here next to our little base because I find myself running back and forth from that hill down to here to either drop off materials or grab new materials. So it's nice to have a way down here to kind of quickly jump up and fly there like this. You also get a nice little view of the town. You can do a little fly around, and it's just a lot more efficient to get up here so we can make this build happen efficiently, but still make it, you know, fun and interesting. So yeah, we're just gonna wear the elytra. We're gonna be a little bit more vulnerable, but being able to fly down hills like this, even if we're not using rockets to propel ourselves around the world, it's gonna be nice to just be able to jump off of high places and also use our elytra launchers in places like here at the harbor or back at the, whoops, I broke my grass, or back at Alpha Site 17. Elytras also allow me to do things that you wouldn't really think are important, but are kind of handy, like jump up over a 2-block wall like this. If you do a little elytra bounce, you can actually jump over like walls and fences, and that's just pretty handy. You'd be surprised how often that kind of thing is actually very useful. Let me set my spawn. I think I broke it earlier. All right, we're gonna drop off these materials, and then I'm gonna go do a little searching. We have a trial chamber over there, which I've considered using to gather tuff because trial chambers have a bunch of tuff. Right down there at the end of our boardwalk is actually like a water elevator that goes to a trial chamber, but all of the tuff there is mostly tuff bricks, and we have all the varieties of tuff in the base level of this next build. So I don't really think that's going to be the most efficient way. I think we should just find a good hole, put up our beacon, and just start digging a whole area. First things first, I think we just need to pick a good location to start digging. But let me clear out my inventory and grab some empty shulkers because we don't want to go start digging tuff and not have anywhere to put it. All right, I want to put this thing a little bit further back from the ocean. The issue with mining anywhere near an ocean is that if you're near an ocean, there are typically more like water caves, and we don't want to be constantly fighting back water caves or getting into areas that we can't even mine. So I'm thinking we go back here to the back side of this hill and just kind of dig down, maybe like right here. I know there is like a pretty big cave over there, so there might be caves here too, but we're going to risk it. I'm going to dig down. Let's just do right here. We'll go straight down and just try to find a good level for digging tuff. Typically, you find tuff a lot more down near deep slate. And that's right, we're going to dig straight down. Okay, we're into the deep slate layer now. I'm actually not going to go all the way down to like -60. Oh. Well, shoot. Well, there's some tuff. Oh, geez. Let me think. Is this gonna be okay? This should be fine. We'll just do it here. That's fine. This will mean that we have to dig out less area for the beacon, so I guess that's kind of nice. So this is the center of our beacon. If we look straight up the hole, we need to make sure we remember where this is. I believe it's 9 by 9 on the base, but honestly, I mess it up like every time. What I was about to say before we like dug into this cave was that I like to put a beacon like this for underground strip mining of like things like tuff blocks higher up. That way we have a lot of surface beneath the beacon to really work through, and we can kind of dig out layer by layer to find the tuff pockets. But since there's already a cave here, it's a lot easier to just set this thing up in a big open space than it is to dig out enough space for the beacon. But you can't insta-mine deep slate, but when we actually get to the tuff blocks or tuff pockets themselves, then we're gonna be all set. Oh man, I was not thinking, and we didn't bring, let me think, how can we fix this? We didn't bring an ingot to put in there. You know what we can do? We can do cobbled deep slate. I believe cobbled deep slate makes furnaces now. So if we can just get 8 cobbled deep slate, we'll just smelt up one of these gold blocks real quick. And there it is. Just like that, we've got haste 2 deep down in our cave. We had to do a little bit of ingenuity to make things work, and I think we should probably patch up wherever this lava's coming from before we really hurt ourselves. Let's slap a couple torches here so we can still see when the lava's gone. You may have noticed by now, but there aren't any mobs in this cave. No, our server is not on peaceful mode. But a few months ago, I went through the grueling effort to craft what in Minecraft is known as a mob switch. And currently the mob switch is on, which means we won't have any mobs spawning around us. So we're safe to cave dive all we want. Unless that mob switch gets turned back off, in which case we will be in very, very much danger. But yeah, it's pretty handy, and if you're playing on a forever world, honestly, I kind of recommend doing it. Sometimes it's nice to be able to just log on Minecraft and go messing around in the caves or running around at nighttime and not have to constantly worry about mobs trying to get you. It's a lot of effort to build one, and there's like a whole bunch of stuff involved in it, but once you have it, and it's just super nice to be able to flick that thing on and kind of turn your world into peaceful Minecraft, even if it isn't. You get all the benefits of playing Minecraft on peaceful mode and all the benefits of playing on some regular survival. It's just a win-win. Anyway, I've got a whole bunch of tuff to collect, and then after we get all this tuff collected, or at least as much as I can manage to do right now without losing my mind, we're gonna head back up and start working on that little nether highway adjustment that I want to make, at least as a band-aid until we get the actual redstone stuff in place. We're also gonna get some diamonds, which is kind of nice. We don't really need any diamonds right now because I have the only shop on the server, but it's nice to have them, you know? We actually need gravel. I've been kind of digging around this, but I might as well collect everything we need while we're here. This is a really good example of when sometimes you like don't want to move the beacon. If you've ever done like big projects like this, or you're really deep into Minecraft, there's gonna be times when you're at a point in the game when you have a beacon and you need to go collect the material and you're like, it's just not gonna be worth tearing that thing down and moving it. I promise you, if you're getting more than a shulker of materials, it is probably faster to move the beacon. I'm actually kind of blown away already by just how fast I'm filling up these shulkers with tuff blocks. It is 100% worth it just to put in that little bit of extra effort to save yourself quite a bit of pain. All right, I think that's a solid start to our tuff gathering journey. We've got a couple shulkers, plus a few more stacks of inventory, and that exhausted that vein at least. We've got this beacon set up, so it'll be easy to hop back down in here and do some more when we're ready to grind out a little bit more. Let's get rid of this, actually. We don't need to leave this here anymore. I wonder what his plan to get out of this deep, dark hole is when he has no rockets. He must have some super secret plan. I don't. I actually didn't even think about that before I started digging straight down into the world, but I think we can actually keep digging down, and with a little bit of luck, we might hit our strip mine that connects up to our little harbor house over there on the water. All right, this is the Y level, but the question is, which direction is home? I'm trying to think in the world. I think east? Oh, look, diamonds. Well, it wasn't all for naught. All right, I'm not feeling great about this direction. Let's go back this way. I think this way is home. Oh man, I have no idea. 4 diamonds. 4 diamonds. 38 diamonds. Pretty solid considering we weren't even here to get diamonds. Oh, hallelujah. We've made it. And there's our little copper golem that fell down here about 2 months ago. I lost this guy for like 2 weeks and I had no idea where he could have gone. Somehow he jumped in my base down the hole and now he just lives here, I guess. All right, we're back home. Let's drop off our materials. And then I want to do a little ice path upgrade work. All right, we are going to need gray stained glass, which we have pretty much none of. We actually have pretty much no glass whatsoever. I'm gonna take this sand over to our smelter real quick. I don't know if I've really showed this off in a video or not, but I did build at least kind of a mini super smelter over here in the rocket factory. I'm actually not gonna load it the top way because we'll end up using up way more furnaces than we need because it will distribute the sand evenly across all of these. And I don't feel like replacing all of those lava buckets. We don't need that much glass. We're only gonna need a handful, maybe a stack or two. So we'll just manually load a few furnaces. The system will still reload the actual lava buckets, as you can see, and it still like will kick out our empty ones here. But we don't have to manually replace all of these to smelt like 1 sand per furnace. Someday we'll probably do like a bamboo style that auto refills the fuel, but for now, I don't mind just filling up the buckets after we load some materials in. Typically we have enough lava buckets here to kind of replace all of the furnace worth. So if we do like a 1 shot across all the furnaces, we can kind of refill the system just by grabbing our lava right here. Honestly, that's probably enough right there. We don't need very much glass because when you convert it to panes, you get a lot of glass. First, let's start with what is my current least favorite intersection in this nether. Oh, you know what? We can actually use this. Is this even faster than running? I don't know. It is fun to fly, okay? Even if we're not using rockets, it's just nice to have an aerial view of your world. Not to mention that uses 4 wind charges, which is a whole breeze rods every time we step in that thing. So we do want to be a little bit careful, but it's just too fun, okay? And if you want to stick to your forever world, you need to have fun. For now, we're going to use the shift method. Ugh. The server does not like that. All right, this guy has been hanging out on the highway for a long time, and I'm sorry. I just can't handle it anymore. Okay, so my super high-tech, intricate method is we're just going to widen the intersection. I think if we give ourselves a little bit more space, we'll be able to catch the lips here. And it's not ideal and it's going to be a little clunky, but for now, it's better than what we're doing, which is flying by this corner every time we come through here. I didn't realize this section of highway is completely bare bones and it's actually just slabs. It's kind of ugly, but whatever, I guess. All right, so now that should be a catch point so that no matter which direction in this highway you're going through, you should be able to just kind of hug the side and go the way you want to go. Let's just fly down here and give this thing a test. I don't even know where this is, but anyway, we'll head back this way. Now we should be able to just hold the side, and no matter what, we should go into this little nook. Yeah, and then we can kind of figure it out from there. It's still a pretty awkward, but at least we won't fly by the turns anymore, I guess. Look, it's not a perfect solution. We have the perfect solution. We just need to do it, you know? And for now, I don't want to keep missing my turns. Sometimes in Minecraft, especially when you're working on a massive project like this, it can feel like you're just not getting anything done. But that's why it's so important to remember you really need to enjoy the process. Things like this take a long time and you just need to buckle down and do it. And when you get bored, just go do something else and have fun. Anyway, I've got about 1,000 more dirt blocks to place. If you made it this far in this episode, I appreciate you. Thanks for sticking around. Have a good one. There's a lot of reasons why people stop logging into their worlds. One of them is that little bit of friction when you don't put the time in up front to make your world comfortable. You want it to be every time you log into your Minecraft world, things are easy. It's just a good place to be. Your stuff's where you think it's gonna be. If you need to get materials, you've got good, efficient ways of doing it, and you can free yourself up to be creatively free and build whatever you want to build in your world. It can take a little bit of time to really tackle all those individual friction points in your world, but around here time's not an issue, because in this world, we have forever. Hey, welcome to ForeverCraft. And today, I want to expand on something I've been talking about quite a bit lately, but get a little bit more specific with it. You see, there's a big reason why a lot of people have a hard time sticking to their forever worlds. I mean, there's obviously lots of reasons, right? You have real life factors, you have the reality of the difficulty of just building things in Minecraft and staying motivated long term. But then the thing I really want to focus on is the tiny friction points that don't really feel like a big deal at the time, but can really wear on you over the long term when you're playing in just one world. And today, I actually want to fix one of the friction points that I am running into currently. You see, I am trying to supply breeze rods to the server. Now, if you don't know, breeze rods are only from trial chambers in Minecraft. And the thing is, trial chambers are not the most efficient way to farm pretty much anything, because they're one of the few things in Minecraft that have a built-in cooldown timer. Now, for the average player who's just jumping into a trial chamber to do some fun stuff, fight some mobs, and get cool loot, this isn't that big of a deal. But to someone who's trying to farm a trial chamber to actually get a meaningful amount of materials at it to supply a whole server with breeze rods, because of this internal cooldown timer, they're really annoying to farm. And the only practical way to really farm breeze rods is to farm multiple trial chambers or AFK at one for a long period of time. It actually takes 30 minutes for a trial chamber to reset its spawners, and that's the only way you can get breezes in Minecraft right now. So I want to make going to each of those individual trial chambers as seamless as possible, so that each time we go to one of them to farm up breeze rods, it's a quick in and out situation and we're good to go. Now we're gonna need a few things for that. One is I want to use some smooth stone blocks to make very simple trails in the chamber. So when I jump in the chamber, I know, oh, just follow the smooth stone blocks and that's where the breeze spawner is. The breeze spawners can be anywhere in the entire chamber. And while I've been in these chambers a few times and I kind of know where stuff is, having a path would make it a lot easier. The second one, which is a little bit more difficult, but I think we can at least manage a basic form of, is we need ominous bottles. When you drink an ominous bottle in a trial chamber, it actually buffs that trial chamber. And when you buff that trial chamber, you can actually get more breeze rods per spawner because you get more breezes spawning with each time. And depending on the frequency, you can actually hit the spawners twice. So you can actually go into the trial chamber, fight the breezes, get all the spawners until they're exhausted, Then you can drink one of these ominous bottles, and that'll actually allow you to go back through and re-farm all of those spawners for a second time, effectively letting you more than really double the amount of breeze rods. And it also works for other loot. If you're just trying to get like a whole bunch of trial keys, or maybe you like use your trial chamber to get your slime for your world, because you can get slime spawners, you can get spider spawner for things like string and spider eyes. There's actually quite a bit of useful loot. It's just the one downside of the trial being kind of slow. But if I can make it easy for myself to log on, jump down in the hole, and just walk down the path of smooth stone blocks, it can kind of be mostly a brainless activity that I kind of use to warm up when I log on to play some Minecraft. All I gotta do is when I launch up for the day to record a video, before I do anything, I just kind of hop down the hole, follow these smooth stone blocks, and go to our spawner that is already set up to easily farm the breezes. Then all I do, drink a potion and turn back around. So step one is to get these path blocks in place. Now this one, as you can see, our little entry point here is already kind of right in front of it. I don't have the materials with me, but another thing that I will do probably is put hoppers in chests, because that is just one more little tiny friction point that I'm running into at these spawners, is that right now I have to fight this breeze, which, if I'm paying attention, isn't too big of a deal. They're pretty easy and they can't do much when they're locked in the box. But after I defeat the breeze, he's gonna drop his loot in this box, and right now I don't really have a good way of collecting that. But simple enough, you break a block, you grab the thing. What we need to do is just come back here and put some hoppers here with some chests underneath. That way, we fight the breeze, and all we do is jump down, grab the loot, and we start following our trail. Now, I don't think it's going to be totally necessary to put these constantly through the whole thing, but if we go like every other block and just make it really obvious where we're going when we're in this chamber, I know this seems like a really minor thing, but I promise you, stuff like this is like what makes you know that a world is used frequently and is really put together. And while it may not seem like much, it's just little things like this that make your world feel like it is intentional, and it also just makes it easier to jump in here and do stuff. And as you can see at this chamber, I had already kind of started doing things like this by having these little torch pillars so that I knew, oh, I need to make a right turn here to go to the next one. And there we go. Now I've already farmed this one and the last chamber, but you'll see, if I drink one of these ominous potions, I'll now be able to go back and fight both of these spawners for a second time, allowing me to kind of double up on the loot. I have experimented some with using things like magma blocks or like lava buckets that automatically kill the breezes, but the problem there is you don't get the looting effect from your weapon, so you get less breeze rods, and because they're on a timer, you really want to maximize the number of rods you get per 30 minutes, if that makes sense. Or in our case, per run, because we're probably just going to run through each chamber once. I'm actually going to fix another thing right now. Again, just a little tiny friction point in the world that bugs me every time I come through here. I ripped these stairs out. I don't remember why I would have done it, but we're just going to throw one set of stairs back in here so that when we run here, we can just run straight up. I hate the feeling of jumping up one block at a time in Minecraft. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but it's like the old school mines. You got to jump your way out. It's just so much nicer to be able to run up some stairs. It's a little thing, but it makes a big difference for me. And look at that, we got an ominous trial key, which is actually how we open the big boy chests in these chambers. I actually don't know if I've even gone around and collected the big ones. Maybe we should try to get a mace real quick. What do you think? Is this gonna be my first mace ever? Negative. We did get an enchanted golden apple, which is always cool. Breach, yeah, nothing really too exciting there. So that is step one in reducing the friction of gathering up our breeze rods. Step two is going to be a little bit more tricky to perform. The first thing we're going to need is a consistent supply of ominous bottles. And the only place I know to do that is at a pillager outpost. I'm telling you, these launchers are going to catch on. I've already seen Plato using his quite a bit. All right, we're going to need a few building blocks for this, but it is a mostly manual farm, so we're going to drop off, clear our inventory, and just get some blocks. What do you think? Is an enchanted golden apple just regular food for the food chest? I think so. Believe it or not, I'm actually going to use a launcher to help us with this setup. You wouldn't think a wind charge launcher would be useful in farming ominous bottles, but you're going to see, it's actually genius. All right, I happen to know that there actually is one chamber at least, somewhere near our ruined castle build, but we don't have a horse there, so we're actually gonna run over to season 2 real quick and grab a horse. In hindsight, we really should have put the Nether Highway portal in a more centralized location here. As I've been like getting more and more horses here, it's been really annoying to like run on foot back to our house, but it is equally annoying to actually lead horses, especially riding another horse. So unfortunately, every time I come back here lately, I'm having to manually just run back to our base, which is, you know, not super close to this portal. But it gives us a chance to enjoy our beautiful Minecraft paths. I knew we had a horse in here. We don't have a saddle. I gotta go make a saddle. All right, this should be our shulker portal. Whoa, that is dangerous. Oh, that spooked me. All right, we've curated this beautiful path up to Wolf Keep. Over there, you've got our shulker farm, which is not rendered in because I haven't been here since we did the last server update. But there is the shulker farm, and somewhere in this general direction, I remember seeing a pillager outpost. I definitely did not just spend 30 minutes running in the completely opposite direction that I intended to, but here we are, our pillager outpost. It turns out all we had to do was continue in the direction we were facing when we walked out of our portal over there. Instead, I went that way for a long ways, which was not the correct direction. All right. Anyway, there's a few ways to farm these, but the easiest one that I've ever found is to simply tear the whole thing down, because it's not the building itself that determines when the pillagers spawn. It's just the area that the tower is in. So we can rip out this whole top area so there's actually nowhere for these pillagers to spawn that'll be like frustrating for us to get to or annoying to reach. So they're gonna simply just charge at us and be easy targets. I'm noticing a distinct lack of pillagers, and I think I'm quickly realizing that these may be linked to the mob cap and actually cannot spawn while the mob switch is active. So that is going to be one more variable. We're going to have to actually turn the mob switch off when we're using this farm. Luckily, the mob switch is actually next to the shulker farm, so it's not too big of a deal to just go over to the shulker farm and shut it off. Well, it's going to make it a lot easier to tear this thing down. Usually when you're doing this and tearing one of these outposts down, it's really annoying because they will just be constantly spawning around you and attacking you. But it looks like we're going to have free reign to just go up top here and start tearing this thing down. That was weird. I failed that jump like 100 times. Ooh, efficiency 5. Like that. All right, and here it is. A pretty simple pillager outpost farm. You tear down the outpost, you put a little hole here to confuse the mob AI so they fall down here. And all we do is go down here and manually swipe at them. Oh, actually, I forgot to put the trapdoors in. 1 second. All right, so we've actually got these 3 trapdoors here just so we can get down here, kind of swipe at their ankles. I find that's one of the safer methods for fighting these guys. And then when they're all gone, because they kind of come in waves, you just kind of collect the loot and get out of there. We can set up a hopper and system and stuff like that later on. But the truth is, the ominous potions, if you start getting the higher level ones, they can last for like an hour, so you don't actually need that. Now, the other thing that we have to factor in here is that these guys will only spawn like in a wave, and then you kind of have to leave the area and come back, which is where this comes in. We've got a few more launchers. We've got one here so that we can fly over here to the nearby village. And then we've got another one here at the village so that we can launch ourselves and fly back to the farm, hopefully resetting all the spawns and getting another pillager leader guy that holds the banner. Those are the ones that actually drop the potion. And that should be a pretty efficient little beginner-friendly pillager outpost farm. Now, we've got to go turn off that mob switch and see if this thing actually works. I didn't spawn-proof this floor, and I don't ever remember doing it in the past, so we may get a guy or two spawning in here, but hopefully for the most part, they all spawn out here. Another thing I just thought of is we are not wearing any armor. So let me put that on real quick. We just did that world tour this past weekend. Not all of the members hide armor for other members, so I didn't want to be wearing armor for that video, so we've been running around pretty exposed. And now that we're going to turn this mob switch off, we're going to be a lot more exposed. All right, where do we leave our horse? And let's ride over there and turn this thing on. I just feel like this is a perfect example of the kind of side quest you really want to go on in your world. This kind of makes our life a little bit easier. It's pretty unstressful in terms of like creatively taxing to think of a new build, but it is infinitely useful to future us. And when you're in a forever world, you really always got to be thinking about you in the next 2 to 3 months. We're going to be spending a lot of time in this world, so the easier things are to do and the more maintenance free everything is, the better. Okay, so this farm is actually a little bit dangerous to be around. There are hundreds of shulkers in there, and if they all lock onto you at the same time, it can be a little bit dangerous. So we're gonna leave our horse over here, hopefully out of reach of that danger. And we need to get up to that portal to access the mob switch, so we're gonna need some scaffolding. Luckily, I keep scaffolding in my ender chest at all times, because you just never know. Especially with no rockets, you gotta make sure you have all the creative ways to reach stuff. We wanna get not too close as to kind of get this thing set off, because again, once you kind of alert one of these guys, all of a sudden a lot of stuff targets you. And it can get pretty crazy. We're gonna get a pretty nice view of this valley. Honestly, in hindsight, I mean, I wanted to build the shulker farm in an area that was excluded from everything in our world because, well, it is pretty ugly and it's massive, and there's a whole bunch of restrictions about what you can build near it because the shulkers will like teleport to any block they can, and if they escape the farm, the whole thing breaks. And I use this like beautiful plains that's surrounded by like these really nice landmarks, and it feels like maybe this was kind of a waste. You get this cool lake here in the plains. I don't know. You gotta build stuff somewhere. All right, so when we first get in here, this is actually the mob switch for the nether, right? I can't even jump up and look at it. Actually, we can free cam. This mob switch is for the nether. So this loads all of the nether mobs so that we don't get nether spawns. But down here on the other end is actually where the overworld mob switch is. So we have to go down there without setting all the shulkers off here, hopefully. I didn't hear thousands of shulkers shoot at me, so I think we're okay. That's why I built a little privacy wall there. When you come through that portal, if those guys see you, they will all shoot, and it's like 300 shulkers in that square. So if they all shoot at once, it's a lot of projectiles. All we have to do is pull this lever, overworld mob switch on off. We'll just turn that off, make sure the cart isn't zooming back and forth. That's how we kind of know this thing is disabled. And now our villager outpost farm should be fully operational. And the world is dangerous. I'm gonna have to make sure I let everyone know that that thing's turned back off. Well, I'm seeing an immediate need here for possibly some kind of bridge. We may even reuse that bridge design that we've built in the shopping district. That could be a perfect little bridge just to get across here and easily get to this town, because I want to use that launcher to land inside the outpost. And it is so dark you can't see anything. Okay. All right, fingers crossed we haven't overlooked some kind of critical component. As you can see there, there's a zombie, so the mob switch is effectively turned off. Now let's see if all these pillagers spawn as well. Ouch, that was pretty rude. Nothing left to do but to do. Now we're looking for the banner holding one specifically, but usually once you aggro one of these guys, the whole outpost will charge you. So all we have to do is get in the middle here and make one of them mad, which this is probably perfect for. They might already have seen me actually. I see one guy there. Do we have to actually hit him and make him mad? Ow. Also, they have crossbows. Maybe we have to actually shoot him. I can't remember. All right, there's one in the hole. We didn't get a huge spawning of these guys. All right, we didn't get a great spawning. So this kind of talks about one way that we could improve this farm is these guys are directly impacted by mobs, just like any other hostile mob in Minecraft. So my guess is that we've got a decent population of underground caves here. And what that means is some of our mob cap is probably being used up by a cave underground. So we're not getting a lot of pillagers. If you want to go through an additional step, you can actually light up the caves in the area and you'll get more of these guys spawning, but we're here to just get a few of these, right? I don't need hundreds of these bottles, so if we just have to jump in and out of here a few times to get some bottles, it's not too big of a deal. Let me just double check real quick that I don't see any more banner carrying guys. Those are really the only ones that matter to us, and I don't, so we'll just hop over to the village, reset these guys spawn. Obviously, if you have rockets, you can skip the launcher step and just fly straight up into the air, but we've imposed our own little rules to make it a little bit more interesting. All right, I don't see any banner guys with this wave, so we'll reset again. And that's it. We just gotta rinse and repeat this process until we've got all the desired bottles. You don't need to jump in the middle building as well. Like for instance, I was flying over here just now and I saw that one of these banner guys is just outside. You can just fight them manually. Again, your goal is really just to take out the banner lords. So if you feel confident that you can just go fight these guys, that's also an option. The safest way is probably to be in the building because then you're not gonna get randomly teamed up on and get overwhelmed. It can be really easy to have 4 or 5 of these guys shooting at you and put yourself in a real pickle. But as you can see, these potions, this one lasts an hour and 40 minutes. You don't need a lot, especially if you're gonna be specifically farming trial chambers, you really just won't use that many. One more thing in our world that's a little bit easier to deal with. I know we didn't get a lot of work done on the big build this episode, but don't worry, that's all still coming. Today, I wanted to get on here and just get rid of something that's been bugging me in the world, making it a little bit easier to log in next time. If you made it this far, I appreciate you. Thanks for sticking around. Have a good one. Sometimes, you have to break your own rules. It's good to have a set of ideas in your head about the way you want to tackle your Minecraft world. I never build something before it's fully designed, or at least, I never have before. Sometimes, it's okay to break your own rules. Remember, it's your world, and you're going to be in it for a long time. In fact, in this world, we're going to be here forever. Hey, welcome to ForeverCraft, and today, I'm doing something that I never do. But first, we're actually going to head to the shopping district because I've got some restocking to do at Greg's General Store. After we get this store stocked, I think I'm going to start placing blocks for the mega build. Now, this is not something I would ever do in Minecraft because typically I will plan a build down to the very last piece of grass before I ever place a block in survival mode. I've always felt like once you start building a build in survival mode, you're kind of locking it in time. When you're working on a build in creative mode or designing it, it's a fluid concept, it's a thing, you don't know, you could change stuff, nothing's really committal. But I very rarely go back and change a build once it's built in the survival world. That's kind of my snapshot of the thing that I had a concept for in the moment and created. And once it's in the world, it's there, that's the build, that's the moment in time, that's the idea I had, and I never really go back and change them. For one, I kind of like to see the evolution of the world over time, and if I'm constantly going back to builds and changing them, then you don't really get that history feeling for all of your builds. And I like to have that to go back to and look at and remember a time, not every other week I go back and re-update things because I've decided I like a new color palette or something. Anyway, the problem with a mega project, however, is that especially since before I even started this series, I hadn't fully designed this build. I had a really strong concept, and I know what I want it to look like when I'm done. And I'm pretty confident, obviously, in the foundation of what we're about to start working on. Otherwise, I wouldn't start placing blocks. But there's still always that chance that I get to the roof design for this thing and decide, it needs to be 1 block wider. And if we have already placed 100,000 blocks, it's going to be hard to make it 1 block wider. And look at that. We've made our first sales for breeze rods. We still haven't really put in the effort to farm a lot of these, so we can only kind of slightly restock these. But at least we can have something in the chest, so if someone needs a few more, there's something there. We'll throw these in here. We don't really have anywhere to spend our diamonds yet, but we're still kind of working on the server-wide initiative to get shops set up and get a real economy booming again. We still have a few more places in the world that we need to go around and build these stables as well. Like when we went to the shulker farm, I didn't have a place to tie my horse up. I don't know if I edited out of the video or not, but we just did another horse hole. So we've got a horse there just sitting in a hole. But today, we're placing blocks on the mega build. And you're gonna see here when we get back, I've already kind of started outlining some stuff. And I think today I will just show you kind of what it looks like to build with Lightmatica. And while a lot of people use it in different ways, you'll see that I have some peculiarities, especially working on a build like this that isn't complete. You're also gonna notice that when I'm building a build like this, I build it from the bottom up, literally. So I like builds to look okay, even when they're in process. And because this build is gonna take us quite a while to build, I don't want some floating roof up in the sky with nothing below it for long term. Whereas if we just get a foundation built and then we decide to go on some side quests, at least it's connected to the world and not floating. All right, here's the next thing we're gonna look at. And I think I've shown this in previous videos, but the first thing we need to look at is materials. All right, now I haven't actually looked at these numbers yet, and honestly, I'm a little bit scared to see how much tuff we're gonna need. You can remember we went for a little bit of tuff mining. We've got a couple shulkers of tuff and maybe a few more stacks on top of that, and I have a feeling that's gonna be nowhere near enough tuff. But let's see how much we're actually gonna need for this foundation. All right, one of the things that Lightmatica does is it will give you a material list, but you have to be in range of the schematic. So there, we were too far away from this thing to actually load in our material list. So I gotta fly over here and get the material list to load. All right, and then we'll fly back over here and, all right, a few things here if you've never used Lightmatica before. Stone, I'm not worried about. Dirt, grass blocks, not worried about it. Short grass, none of that. Stone bricks is part of the build. Gravel is not part of the build. Coal is not part of the build. This is all stuff that's in the ground when you grab the schematic. You don't really need to worry about it as much. Andesite, there might be some, but there's no significant quantities of it. So now we're into the actual blocks. And you can see a lot of stone bricks and a lot of tough bricks. I'm actually a little bit surprised by this initial glance. There's not nearly as much tough as I expected, and I actually think I might go back up here real quick just to double check. Granted, this build is currently hollow, so there are no floors or like separate levels of the build. One thing that will like get sneaky expensive is creating floors in your builds, especially when they're of this scale, because it's the area of the whole build when you make a floor, which means those blocks can really add up. Now let's look again real quick. Apparently that is accurate, so we actually might have enough tough. This is saying we only need 1 shulker of tough bricks, and then probably between like all of these variants, another shulker. So we might actually have just enough tough to get the base part of this build completed. We need to sleep though, because the mob switch is not on. And while these shaders are beautiful, they do not react well with Lightmatica. In fact, I've never really found a shader that does. So when I'm working on building, I typically will turn my shaders off. And you'll see when we get back up here, that's gonna make this a whole lot less transparent. All right, let's first grab just the tough blocks, because I happen to know that's kind of like the foundation of this build. We don't have all the materials for the windows, and we definitely don't have all of the stone bricks and stuff crafted, but I want to just get the tough layers in today. All right, we should have everything we need to get started on this build. You can see I've started outlining kind of like the base of the build. Now the build has these 2 massive garden beds out front, so one of the things we need to do is get all of this dirt in. And again, we're trying to get a foundation to build upon, so this build is never in our world floating. If I ever log off and walk away from it, there isn't any awkwardness to it in the distance. And if for whatever reason we burn out and don't want to keep working on it, we can walk away at any moment without having an eyesore in the world. That's one garden bed. This is kind of the interior of the build. So this is all going to be covered up by the build. So I did not place any blocks here, but we're going to have 2 more of those garden beds back here and 1 more up here. So if I turn Lightmatica back on, you can kind of see the outline of this build. And yes, it is massive. So what I'll do here is, I don't love having the Lightmatica on all the time, especially something like this where it's grass blocks, and I can't place grass blocks using the Lightmatica like pick block system because I have dirt blocks and not grass. These will convert eventually, so I don't really worry about it. So what I'll do is I'll go through, trace this outline, and then I'll just disable it and then fill in the blocks. And this is why building with Lightmatica can be so much faster, is because once you get to this stage, you really don't have to pay attention. And once we get to the part where we have blocks we actually are going to use, especially for a build of this scale, I will use a thing called Easy Place. And now, this is pretty controversial, but in my opinion, you should just play Minecraft the way you want to play it. If you don't like using Easy Place or other mechanics like Lightmatica to help you build in your world, then just don't. There's no reason you have to, but it lets me build bigger, cooler things faster, and I don't have as much time as I would ever want to play Minecraft. So when I am playing, I like to maximize my efficiency. And while I love the grind of collecting blocks and building stuff in my world, I also love getting things done and having a big, beautiful world that I have. And to get that done, I need to use some tool-assisted stuff in Minecraft. We should have brought a bed up here. We're gonna have to be flying back and forth to get anything done, but that's all right. Let's grab the bed now while we're back at the base. And we're going through this dirt pretty quickly, so I'll grab a shulker of dirt. We always have plenty of dirt. I have not even consolidated all the dirt in my world. The Alpha Site 17 build has like 30 double chests full of dirt just at that build area still that I've just never touched. So no matter what, when we need to place some dirt in this world, we've got it somewhere. The reality is that not every part of building something like this in Minecraft is flashy and totally works for like the YouTube algorithm and standard YouTube video style. But obviously when we're trying to increase our frequency and show you guys more of what's going on in this world every day and not just the highlights, you're gonna have some moments where I just need to place down a whole bunch of dirt. That's the reality of building in Minecraft. And if you want to build something big and cool like this, you're gonna find yourself placing a few shulkers worth of dirt as well. I think that can also be the reason sometimes you'll see kind of a disconnect with people see builds like B-dubs and other like amazing huge builders, and they really don't understand the monotony of placing thousands of blocks in Minecraft. It's therapeutic in a way, but in another way, it is also just a lot of actual brain work. The creation of the design, but the placing of the design and the collecting the materials. It's fun at first, but once you start getting past that like 1,000, 2,000 block range, of any particular resource, you start to really wear on you. You gotta really love playing Minecraft if you really want to build something big like this, or expand to a world like this. Alright, front side garden beds complete. 2 more to go. Alright, we got the initial layers down for the dirt, for the garden beds, and the platform. Now, I want to put all this like trimming around the beds before we actually start the structure. Again, just so like this foundation of the build is in place. This should go a lot faster because all we're doing is putting in this like garden bed wall that I built. I just noticed that we put a shelf in there. I will not be doing that in the final build, although that does give me some ideas of things that you could do with these shelf blocks, because that actually kind of has a nice little lip to it. Alright. We've got all these materials. Oh, let's place that the right orientation. We've got all these materials. Now we just need to place them around in this big old ring. Okay, so it turns out I underestimated the amount of spruce that I was actually going to need for this. So we're a little short on spruce shelves and spruce trapdoors, but I think that'll be okay to leave out for now, and I don't have time to go gather more resources because we've still got a whole bunch of tough blocks to place so that we can at least have something in our world and get started on this actual build. So now it's time to start placing down all these tough blocks. Of course, I've got to figure out my inventory, but I got to start placing all these tough blocks and start making actual progress on the mega build. All right, and here it is, the foundation of something truly massive. I did not have all of the blocks I needed, as we kind of talked about. I ran out of trapdoors to cover this. There's a whole bunch of details missing. These gardens have plants and trees in them. This little circle's all decorated. There's still so much left to do on this build, but I wanted to get the foundation in the world and kind of give you an idea of what the scale of this thing's going to be. It is the biggest build I have created yet in this world in terms of just one build by itself easily. And I'm super happy with how it's turning out. These lower windows, I'm actually going to go through and put some black concrete behind these just to block them out so that when you're looking for now, it looks like it's an enclosed place. That's another little finishing touch thing that like, once we design the interior for this build, we probably will make them actual windows. But for now, so it doesn't just look like a hollow shell, we'll probably black these windows up just to make it show as if there's a closed room in there with no lighting. But I don't have time to do any of that today because, whew, even just this little bit of the bottom portion of the build was a pretty good grind. And if you made it this far in the episode, I appreciate you. Thanks for sticking around. Have a good one. Sometimes, improving a world isn't about building something massive. It's about making every day a little bit easier. A smoother path, a faster way home, a place that just works the way that it should. These small improvements don't seem like much at the time, but it's gonna make logging into your world just a little bit easier. And we spend a lot of time in this world. In fact, in this world, we're here forever. Hey, welcome to ForeverCraft. And today, we've been pranked. You see, I don't know if you recall, but a few episodes ago, I happened to play a little bit of an Ender Pearl prank on Play-Doh. And this, I believe, is our revenge. Or at least his revenge on me. I spoiled a little bit of this plank. These are actually my horses, as you might recognize the striking pattern on the sides of them. I happened to watch Slip's stream last night, and he had all of these horses shoved inside here. But I think we're discovering the prank in the wrong order. So I think before I go here, I better go check out my house and see what it looks like on the other end, because I'm guessing I wasn't supposed to discover the horses first. Today's episode, by the way, is going to be a little bit of another side quest. Once we figure out the root of this prank, I also want to do another little make our life easier in the world project, and I think it's also just going to be really good for the other server members, especially Slip. Luckily, we did have one good horse penned up over at the portal, so getting back over here isn't too bad. It may have been a long time. Honestly, I have not been coming back here that often. Ah, yes. Let's see. Hey, Cobb, wrangled up your loose horses. I think you're gonna need this. A carrot on a stick, and it's a mushroom on a stick. So yeah, that's all parts of this are pretty funny. Will they even follow fungus? I don't think so, right? I don't think the fungus works. No, it doesn't. I will cherish this carrot on a stick forever. Let's go put this inside the house for historical reasons. This is our carrot on a stick. I think we'll just leave the pigs here. Honestly, we kind of needed to build a new pen for the breeding horses anyway. And I'm not going to wrangle all 20 of those horses back over here. Honestly, I'm just going to grab the 2 good ones and bring them back. Oh, no. Oh, you're almost sneaky. Let's go grab the rest of our good horses at least, and then get them back over here. We're probably going to need some leads, and it looks like the sun is setting. Oh, we've got a big ding. Day 14,400 of ForeverCraft. Do we want to walk over or, I don't know. Leading horses is a bit of a pain in the butt, but let's grab some leads. At least we don't have to transfer them too far. And this valley is pretty traversable, so it shouldn't be too bad just getting the 2 top speed jump guys back over here. And I can leave the rest for Slip because, you know, he's always needing more horses. Now we got to go through this bunch of horses and try to find the good ones. Luckily, I have a mod that shows a horse speed and jump height, so this shouldn't be too bad. We're looking for 1455. Okay, that was pretty lucky, our first one. I can't right-click the post because we'll end up grabbing all of these leads. You never want to tie everything to one post. If someone clicks that, they're going to end up with all of the leads. Put that on that guy, and then we got to find one more of the 5 jump, 14.5 speed guys. There should be one more in here, right here. He doesn't have a harness, but that's okay because we're leading them anyway. Just tie him up to our other horse here, and we're good to go. Grab this lead, and now we're just going to be careful leading these guys. We'll go into our deep third-person camera so we can keep an eye on these guys. The problem is, like you can see, this horse is very fast. We may just have to lead them like this. All right, let's bring these guys home. The horses are home. Now, on to the actual side quest that I planned for this episode. By the way, I believe this was a joint effort between Pandemonium and Play-Doh Storm, so well played, gentlemen, well played. Anyway, back to what we were doing. I need a few materials that you're probably going to recognize pretty quickly. What we're doing here is I need soul sand. I'm going to need some reeds. I'm going to need some kelp. We're gonna have buckets of water, probably at least 1 spare bucket. Just gotta go get some water from the well. And then we're just gonna need some building blocks for now. I'm gonna create a water elevator. And then at the bottom of that water elevator, we're gonna open a portal to the end dimension. We actually got super lucky and we have an end dimension below this area. We don't have enough ender pearls here, unfortunately, though. So I'm gonna have to run back to Other Base and get more ender pearls so I can open this portal. But somewhere underneath the ground over here is an actual end fortress with an end portal. So I think it would be pretty handy for the people in this area, rather than building an armadillo farm here. What if there just was a portal to go get Enderman experience from the Enderman farm? I think that could be a kind of interesting little piece to this place, and I think a bubble elevator is the best way to jump down to that portal real quick. I do need to find this thing. I have an idea. I know it's over in this area somewhere underground, I believe. We found it like it may have even been the first day we played on the server we found this thing, so it is like right here somewhere in the main area. I know Slip has a mine entrance here, but it is definitely not an efficient mine entrance. And I know that Panda has a water column here, but I don't have a trident to traverse it like in a good way. So we may have to dig our own hole. But again, we're gonna make a little bubble elevator that goes all the way down to the portal. You know what we didn't grab? Bone meal. Shoot, that's like a key block to make the water column an actual like solid block of source blocks. I need to run back and get some bone meal. And I don't know why, but we didn't grab our horse either. I had horses on the brain from the prank and still forgot to grab my horse. Okay, I just had the thought, it's probably more efficient actually to go back to our base and get the ender pearls from our actual like harbor base, because then we can just use those pearls to find the end fortress. Because honestly, it may take me a long time if I just go search around everyone's mines, versus if we just throw a pearl right here, it should be like right here. So it should only take like 1 pearl to find the actual fortress. All right, we have the eyes of Ender. Now let's head back over there and find this fortress. And also, of course, it's raining. All right, like I said, I don't know exactly where this thing is, but I know that it's somewhere around all of this little village and bases. So I think we just come into a good high platform here and give one of these things a good chuck. All right. Does that mean it's literally here? That seemed like it's stalled out. I can't remember. Does it go into the ground? No, okay. Still in this direction. Let's go a little bit further this time. I guess we're not as close as I thought I was. Looks like this thing might be right below Slip. Oh yeah. This thing is going to be literally on his front steps. Maybe we're going to have to rethink the entrance to this. It's going to end up being right in his wheat field. Oh, that was it. I think it went into the ground. All right, so it's right here. Interesting. All right, I've done a little bit of rethinking, and originally I was going to build like a little elevator structure here, but since we're right in the middle of Slip's base, I'm not going to do too much on the surface. He can build something around this if he feels like it, but this way it'll just kind of be a little spot to drop down and a little spot to bubble elevator up. I think it's gonna go right here, kind of tucked in this grass, so it's not too clunky. And again, Slip, if you're watching this, feel free to redecorate in any way you see fit, or tear the whole thing out and we can put it somewhere else. But for now, I think this will be pretty handy for you and for anyone else who happens to be in the area. And once again, is this 2 episodes in a row? Or at least it's 2 pretty frequently. We're gonna dig straight down. What are the odds of that? All right, some free diamonds. Take those. How's this look? All right, that's floor level right there. So up 1 more, just like that. We've got access to the end portal. Maybe it makes sense actually to raise this up to like right here. That way you just walk out and jump right in the portal. That seems a little bit more convenient. And then a return platform here will be how we get back up. So to get this to work appropriately, we actually need to bone meal kelp up this tunnel to get to the top. And we didn't give ourselves an escape plan here, but I think we slept in a bed in the village up there. So all we have to do actually is hop in the end here. And when we exit the end, we should just spawn right back up there on top. Oh, one more thing actually, so we can jump down. This is a very crucial block. You don't want to forget the water at the bottom. Otherwise, this long drop is going to have a bad ending. All right. Let's jump in this portal, get to the top, and then we're gonna dig out this side. Don't forget bone meal, me. Welcome to the end. This is Plato Storm's pirate ship. He tore out the entire end island, all of the obsidian pillars and everything, and built this massive ship in the end. This is actually his villager trading hall. If you didn't know, this was actually Plato's Forever World first, and he converted it into a server a couple of years ago, and all of us other guys have joined him. And now it's all of our Forever World together. All right, hopefully we slept in that bed like I remember, and we're just gonna be right back up at the top. Perfect. Okay, let's grab our horse and then run over to the house, get some bone meal, and then we'll dig out the other column and have easy access to the end dimension. But this is only step 1 of this side quest, you see, because easy access to the end is one thing, but another thing I would like to tackle today is easy use of the end dimension. There is currently an Enderman Ender there, but it is a little bit clunky to use, and it is very dangerous to get to if you're not wearing your elytra and using rockets. What's going on with my leaves? I think my resource pack might be bugged. Let me try to reload. All right, I fixed it. Apparently we had switched our graphic settings to fast instead of fancy or something, and those leaves went all wonky, but anyway, back to normal. Bone meal. Let's just grab a whole bunch because you can never have too much. Also, let's clean up our inventory a little bit here. We don't need these flowers. As I'm recording this, it is Friday, so I believe Slip will be streaming tonight, so I want to leave a couple signs in the hopes that he may find his newfound access to the end dimension. But I almost guarantee is that Slip has been a bad habit lately of sleeping in his inventory bed, so he's going to end up at spawn, I guarantee it, after he goes into this portal. All right, this one's dug and good to go. I put the water on top and then I dig below it. It's a little bit annoying, but as long as we dig fast enough, and we have to maybe occasionally stop into a little side pocket to get air, but if we can go fast enough, you actually can get pockets of air and breathe. Do I not have respiration on my helmet? Oh, I don't. All right, I'm pulling an audible. I'm actually gonna dig out the rest of this, and then we'll scaffold up to that. Without respiration, it's pretty annoying to be in the water for any length of time, and having to constantly catch our breath is really slowing this down. Donk. All right, let's just go ahead and put our signs up so we don't waterlog everything in this building before we start. Now, luckily, I usually keep scaffolding in my chest, and I did. We'll just scaffold these up, break that top block, and we'll be able to get water all the way down through here. And there you have it, quick and easy access to the end portal. Now it's time for the bone meal and kelp. Whenever the water gets here. One of those, and then we just bone meal this thing until it doesn't let us bone meal anymore. Break the kelp, and we've got ourselves a bubble elevator. Now we have easy, quick access to the end portal here. Let's actually slap a couple border blocks here to make life easier. Can you put a block on these? Oh, interesting. So this is actually below this block. I've never actually tried that before. I guess you would consider this the opposite of a prank. I'm not really sure what this is. All right, let's see. Where can we put this that Slip will definitely see it? Probably just right out in front here. And I think maybe we'll kind of build it up. Follow the signs. Just like that. Hopefully he finds this and goes on an adventure. It is a little bit scary, to be fair, to jump down into a hole like this when you have no idea what's going on. I'm just gonna add these logs here so that it's a little bit more obvious in the weeds, but again, I don't want to do too much in his area. I don't want him to have to tear something out. So you got your up elevator and your down elevator. I also went in here and just kind of replaced all of the walls with bricks. That way it's a little bit more clear, like it's a finished product, I guess. I don't know. In my brain, that made sense. I guess we don't need that head knocker, and we could put one more sign here just to give us a little bit more headroom in and out of these, but that's it. Easy access to the end portal. Now is phase 2, which is easy use of the Ender. So that is the Enderman Ender down there. And as you can see, it is a little bit awkward to get to. You've got this very dangerous bridge, which has a high potential to very much ruin your day if you fall off the edge. And then to get down to the farm, you have this very, very sketchy slab, staircase. I don't even know what you want to call this, but it's definitely not safe. And then it's not a bubble elevator, ladies and gentlemen. It's just a water stream. And the problem with a water stream like this is now built on like Y0. So there's nothing below this, meaning if you don't jump out of the water stream onto this, you just fall into the void. And there's a million other ways you can fall into the void. In fact, not that long ago, I fell into the void here. So I need to kind of refactor this whole thing. The key is this block right here is kind of the maximum fall distance for the Enderman. So we need our floor to be about here and the Enderman will land here. We could actually keep this contraption. It's kind of nice. What this does is we're essentially packing them all in. That way in one swipe, we can hit a whole bunch of Endermen. But we need to make sure that the roof of the whole enclosure is only 2 blocks tall. And we need to make a nice walkway. And I'm probably going to put a bubble elevator here too. That way we can just come right down the platform, walk out here with like edges and walls and safety. And I think I can whip something up pretty quickly that's a lot safer than this and hopefully makes this a lot more usable for everyone on the server in the future. I will say I am probably going to go grab some rockets though, because it is super dangerous to work on these farms, especially in this kind of situation above the void with the Enderman. And I want to have the ability to save all of my stuff. So this is a very prime example of something that I'm going to make an exception and use rockets, or at least have rockets in my inventory so that if I do fall, it's not game over. First, we need to get a whole bunch of materials. We have the soul sand and the kelp and the bone meal, but we need some building blocks, and we're actually going to need a whole bunch of carpets, or at least a whole bunch of wool, because the best way to prevent Endermen spawning on top of something is to double carpet it. I don't have an example, but I will show you when we get there. Jump cut to the future, and I have all the materials we're gonna need, except for one thing, and that is our safety rockets. I wanna keep some rockets on my hotbar while we build this thing, because anytime you're building in the end like this, it is pretty dangerous. All right, we gotta keep these on our hotbar so that if we do fall off, we at least have a chance to not die in the endless void. Anyway, let's head to the end. I've got all the materials. I gathered a lot off screen. I feel like I maybe the last time I checked in, I was talking about wool. I ended up just dyeing all my sheep at my season 2 base and just sheared them over time when I had some free time. And I ended up just getting plenty of wool doing that. I don't know that I can focus on building something this dangerous and chatting away, so we'll probably time lapse this one. And I'll check in when we got the thing built, and I'll explain to you kind of what my design philosophy was for some stuff. It's not going to be the prettiest build, but it will function a lot better than the current one. This thing's done. Let's get Play-Doh here and show them what we've done.
Okay.
All right, Plato, you ready to see this thing?
All right, let's see. Yeah. I'm heading to the end actually.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
What?
So let's go take a look.
No, what?
All right. So we'll just go.
Bro,
Probably this is the.
out. I was like, how did you teleport me? I forgot.
Anyway.
Dude, I thought you somehow figured out how to just teleport me.
What if I
like, that
did?
is
I just like
amazing.
knew.
I was like, did you figure out how to just get us here to the XP farm instantly? I was like, that's insane. That
You didn't know what that
thought in
tech?
my brain.
What size is that?
Yeah. Oh, look at that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I did the double
I have
carpet
one
for the
concern.
roof.
Does this not like disappear? Oh, it's only if it's on top of this, huh?
No, it doesn't disappear.
Well,
Actually, I guess I haven't
only stuff
tested
that's on
it,
top
but
of
I'm pretty sure if it's not above the obsidian, that it's totally.
Wow, look at this. This is so
Yes.
much safer.
Yes. You come in, you're not
Fantastic.
immediately facing your own death.
If there's a void down here, I'm scared. Oh,
Yeah.
dude.
Oh, it's
You did
moody.
Yeah.
I mean, I
whole
went pretty
thing.
basic with the design, but I tried to keep it, a little fancy.
Still,
Yeah.
I didn't know you were gonna make something that looks good. That's actually sick, bro.
Yeah, totally
Wait,
safe in
and
here.
this
It's
is
2 blocks high, Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say they can't get. Yeah. Oh
It's
my
actually
gosh.
slabs. So you get 2.5. It's a little bit of extra. Oh, it's very dark with shaders.
Turn the on or off quickly if piston is not moving. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, dude, this feels like. I feel like I'm on a real SMT.
This is an
now,
like an
where people
actual
actually do
server's
things
ender.
properly.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like a proper one.
This is what
Mine
they're
was
supposed to
messy.
look like.
We still get tons of ender pearls.
Are you getting some? I didn't actually test it that much. At least.
I got a little. Yo, look at this. You're doing things.
Yeah, and you should be able to safely just look in the top window and swipe without breaking the stupid thing.
Yeah.
That should be totally safe, and I
Okay.
should cram. All that stuff should be good now. Yeah, I didn't change the
Fantastic.
drop at all. All I did was put this around it.
Dang, dude, I feel a little
Oh, do
embarrassed.
you have sweeping edge in your sword? I guess it isn't.
Yeah.
This
Is it
kind
not
of
one
feels
hitting?
weird, doesn't it? Feels off.
Yeah.
With the shaders, I can't see through this tinted glass at all to see that. I can't even see the piston, so I couldn't tell if it was moving or not.
So that okay, so that's always on.
Oh, you
did
you
I
broke
break
it. Yeah, you can't do that.
Oh, how did I break it?
It
Uh-oh.
locks the signal on. How do we fix this easily?
Ew.
Probably should have broke this block.
Sorry, bro.
That's why there's a sign. I put a sign right there.
It says turn it on and off quickly.
Yeah.
Oh, like quickly.
That's exactly what it says.
I misunderstood the directions. You meant like do it real quick. Yo, I'm very impressed because
Not bad for a
I've been
day's
using
work.
this janky freaking thing. No, yeah, that's quick. This looks like something a proper server would have.
Yeah.
So. We're moving up in the world, baby. Dude, I love this. Fantastic.
Yep. And it's right in Slip's
Thank you, sir.
backyard.
Oh yeah, that's crazy. I saw that on stream. I was baffled.
Yeah, you'll see when this video comes out, probably
I was
tomorrow.
doing that too.
I was like, I know there's an ender pearl right here in our season 3 area. I threw the first pearl and it went straight towards his base. Went, oh no, is it gonna be like
Yeah,
in his
yeah.
house? And then it was like
That's
right in his
insane.
garden.
Kind of
was
nice,
like-
honestly.
I was
for
like, I
him.
guess I'm not gonna do a build around it, but I'll at least give him.
What
a
are the
little
chances
there.
you pick that spot for a season start? And it's
I
like,
know it's an end portal. And,
Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
what?
Taking on big builds in your world can feel overwhelming at first. It's easy to see everything that isn't done yet, but Minecraft worlds were never meant to be built all at once. They're built block by block, one at a time, and if you keep placing that next block, no matter how small it feels, eventually the shape starts to form, the vision becomes real, and what once felt impossible becomes a permanent piece of your world. These builds can take a lot of time, but that's okay, because in this world, we have forever. Hey, welcome to ForeverCraft, and today we're going to keep working on the mega build. First things first, we're going to make our way back to the harbor and see what materials we need to gather. I know we're going to need a whole bunch of stone, which we're going to have to go out throughout the world to gather. I have a lot of projects in this world that include digging out massive areas. The first of which is nearby here is this quarry. And whenever I dig out something massive like this, I save every piece of stone because you just never know. And well, you never know is today. So I need to go around the world and gather all the resources that I've been stowing away for a big project like this and bringing them to the harbor. But first, I want to go to the harbor and find out how much I actually need. You see, I do have a decent stockpile of materials there, as that was kind of my main base for a while. but I don't think that I'll have everything. I know for one that we're gonna need yellow glass, which as you can see, yellow dye, not really an issue. There are a lot of yellow flowers. We're gonna need a little bit of black concrete, and we're also gonna need quite a bit of andesite. Andesite's not like a major block in the build, but it is kind of the trim piece to help separate different elements of the build, which means when you have a build of this scale, it still ends up being a pretty high amount of andesite. But first, let's head back to the harbor and see what we actually need. So believe it or not, I still don't have the roof designed for this build, but we're gonna keep making our way towards it. Surely by the time we get to the roof, I'll have it figured out, I hope. All right, you can see this first initial layer of the foundation is kind of this tough gradient. Well, not really gradient, but tough block mixture. And that was kind of the goal, to give the foundation like a darker color to work our way up to lighter on the build. And it's just nice to kind of separate large elements of your build with like an obvious color change. And this next tier is going to be mostly stone with, like I said, some andesite trim and some yellow windows. The windows aren't just plain windows though. They have this like cool iron bar covering and stuff, which you're going to see all that eventually. So I should stop explaining it and just explain it when you can actually see it. Okay, I've taken some inventory on what we're going to need for this build. And now I need to go out in the world and start collecting these materials. While I do that, I thought I would talk a little bit about mega builds and why I don't usually do them. Some of you may or may not have seen a video that I made, I don't know, it's probably been about 3 or 4 weeks now, about quitting making videos for the YouTube algorithm. The premise was essentially that I don't want to make the numbers in YouTube Studio decide the video that I'm going to make, and I still want to stick to that. So I'm not making this massive build so that I can have a cool thumbnail or so that I can like show off to YouTube world. First of all, I don't think it's actually that good of a build. And second of all, even if it was big and beautiful, I'm building it because I pictured this build in my world and I want to build it. But I almost never build big projects like this because I know exactly what happens every time I've tried. And it's kind of the feelings I've had while I'm even starting to plan this thing is, it takes a long time. When you scale a build up, it does not scale linearly. Actually, you know what? Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, all of our stone is in the well. Hopefully I've got some shulkers. Yeah, perfect. When you scale a build up in size, it doesn't scale linearly with the amount of time that it's going to take you to make it. First of all, obviously material collection is going to be massive. And for this build in particular, I was actually super careful that it was materials I could get relatively easier, because the reality is I don't have a lot of time to play Minecraft, and I especially don't have a lot of time to make YouTube videos. We should probably grab some cobblestone, but we need mostly stone. So when you scale a build up like this, it becomes increasingly difficult to finish it, and finishing builds is the thing that gives me satisfaction. It's not just the building and the collecting, it's the checking a task off the list, which is probably a problem with the chemistry in my brain. But I like a nice, beautiful, finished project, and I don't like living in a world that's incomplete. And so, if I'm afraid that I can't pull a project off or get it done, I just won't build it. So even though I've had this idea for this build for a long time in the world, I just haven't been able to pull the trigger and actually build the thing. I think I've said something in a previous video along the lines of like, now that I'm not committed to releasing YouTube videos, blah, 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 blah. But the reality is, a huge reason I didn't build it before, as well as anything else, is that I was afraid to. I mean, it is a big project to tackle. And while I've built these massive quarries and builds and I curate my locations around the world, I'm always able to do those beautiful projects by taking little tiny bite-sized chunks. One episode, it's a cow pen. One episode, I get my enchant table. Then I build a little beautiful path. The next episode, we build a starter house. Then we connect that up to the world. And then we do one medium project of digging the quarry, which, by the way, took me like a week and a half and working at like 10 hours each week. I don't have a lot of time to play Minecraft, so anytime I bite off something big like this, I know that's what I'm gonna be doing for the next 2 weeks. If I decide to take a swing at a bigger build, that's what my future looks like until it gets done, because I have a really hard time leaving stuff unfinished in the world. It's a lot like how I structure these videos sometimes, or even how I talk about things. For instance, right now, I'm already having the thought of, what is my point? Why am I explaining to you why I feel this way about building a massive build in Minecraft? And the reality is, I don't have a point. I just thought you guys should kind of know the psychology in my brain for some reason. And so that's why, and that's how, I guess. I don't want that to like discourage you from building big projects or even discourage you from like taking on a long-term world. You should just understand that like it's hard. It takes a long time, and there's going to be parts of the process where you hate the build or you didn't like how something turned out, or you're going to get frustrated that you need to go gather some material and it's far away in the world. And all those little things are going to nag on you as you keep creating. But that's why you need to be doing it for yourself. I've said before that YouTube is the reason I've been able to stick to like a long-term Minecraft Let's Play. I don't know for sure that I would play Minecraft if it wasn't for also creating videos. But that's because I like making videos. That is my driving force behind how I do this. It can be that you like making Minecraft builds, but there has to be something that you actually like doing, not just, man, it would be cool if. It would be cool if wears off well before the 40 to 60 hours it's gonna take you to pull that thing off. All right, let's take a look at what we have so far. I'm already knowing that we're gonna be a little bit short on andesite, so I think we'll hop down below our beacon where we were mining tough and grab some andesite right now as well. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, I would totally love it if you could like it. And if you have liked the last few videos, maybe even subscribe and hang out for a while. Why is this zoom all weird? Also, you may not know this, at least it's true about me, and I'm sure it's true about everyone you watch. Any kind of a comment you can leave on a YouTube video is just like the best thing in the world. I feel like people really underestimate how nice it is just to see that a real person has watched your stuff, and they watch it at least to the point where they could say, hey, like the video, have a good one. That's literally all it takes, just someone who genuinely saw it and took 2 seconds to write a message. I don't like talking about likes and comments and subscribing, and I know it's a thing you're supposed to do on YouTube, but I thought you ought to know that yes, most creators, they read almost every comment. I know I do. And so if you ever get the chance to just stop and say something nice to anyone you watch, do it. They're gonna read it and they're gonna appreciate it, I promise. Let's get in this hole and get some andesite. I feel like this episode really started out with a very happy-go-lucky attitude, and the tone has really swapped in the last few minutes, and that's because the reality is I'm recording this on a different day. And when you wake up every morning, you're always gonna feel a little bit different. Time to reflect, you think about what you're working on, what you're gonna work on. And honestly, I'm serious when I say that there's a real dread working on big projects for me. There's just something about a big project that really gets in my head. And the only reason I'm even trying to tackle a build of this scale, or even this build specifically, is because when I moved out to this little harbor and started building it out and started coming up with what I wanted this place to be, this build was always there. It's been in the back of my vision since I started the whole area, and I've got to see that vision come to life. So sometimes, even when something's a little bit scary or you really just aren't wanting to do it, you gotta push through, and hopefully, at the end of the day, we end up with a cool build in our world, and we're happy that we sat through a little bit of discomfort to get it done. Also, I have not been a person that uses their beacon for collecting materials, and you can probably tell that when I was gathering tough in that other recent episode, this is so much better. I should be moving my beacon for this all the time, or at least have a place like this set up that I can just go gather materials with a beacon nearby. This is so much faster. Alright, the last material we're going to need for this build is actually iron, and I think Season 2 is going to be the best place to get that, and Season 2 is kind of the perfect example of a build that is large in scale, but didn't feel like a mega build when I was building it. Sure, the terraforming was massive, and it took me like 2 weeks to carve out this mountain and place all this stone, but the rest of this area are just small, very specific builds to help tell the story of the area. You've got the greenhouse, the mine entrance, the little maintenance guy's shop with his mech, the industrial warehouse, because if something was built here in space, there had to be a money reason for it, so they're selling fuel to the space station, but this build is just a lot of little builds to add character. And Something about building one build that is massive is so much harder than building a massive build that is small pieces put together. Some of that is just a mindset for me where I can feel like I've completed parts at least. Like the space station can be built, the spaceship can be built, the warehouse is complete, the maintenance guy's house is complete, and those are like check boxes on your way to a big build. But a mega build or a large build like the one we're doing in the harbor, you don't get that feeling until the whole thing is done. So I know I'm gonna walk away from this episode and this play session feeling like I didn't get it done because the build isn't complete yet. And it just feels like that leaves an openness for me that I need to close. But let's grab the iron down here in the trading hall, and get back to the harbor and start building this thing. And here it is. The next tier of the big build is complete. I could not be happier with how this thing is turning out. I'm actually, this is kind of funny to say in this moment, but I'm actually not sure it's as big as I imagined. But I think it is plenty big for what we are going to use it for, and it'll blend nicely with the city. When I was first imagining this thing, I was imagining it towering over this like front portion of the builds. And then I went and built the apartment complex, absolutely massive. So in order to keep the scales relatively normal, I don't think we can go much bigger than this, but this thing is already huge and it's got this much again and then the roof. So it's going to be a lot taller still. And even after that, we have a lot of interior decisions to make. I know that I want to make some kind of like villager trading area inside of this build, but I don't know how I want to do the floor plan. This whole basement area could be interesting, like masons down in the basement and librarians in the middle tier, and then maybe, I don't know, some other important trader up top. That's all in the works for sure, but we need to get the shell done before we can start really imagining what it's like to exist inside of the build. We also need some stairs to get out because it's pretty awkward right now. I blacked out the windows in the front just for appearances, but you'll see that along the sides, it's still just kind of a hollow shell in a lot of areas. This build is very much under construction, but we're getting a little bit closer every time we work on this thing, and it's really starting to come together. That is all I have time for in this episode, though. If you made it this far, I appreciate you. Thanks for sticking around. Have a good one. Inspiration doesn't wait around. It shows up quietly, sometimes out of nowhere, and if you hesitate too long, it can slip away just as fast. You see, you feel it in those moments when an idea just clicks, and suddenly, you can see something that wasn't there before, and that is when you need to move. Start placing blocks. Follow the feeling while it's still there. The other things that you're working on can wait. In this world, we have plenty of time. In fact, in this world, we have forever. Hey, welcome to ForeverCraft, and today we're gonna build something. I thought it would be interesting if I walked you through the whole process of a build. This is not really any build in particular. I saw this image on Pinterest, I think yesterday, and I just thought that would make a really cool Minecraft build. And so I designed it up in creative mode, and today we're gonna build it. And I thought it could be an interesting episode if I just take you guys through the entire process, which means there's going to be a lot less edits this episode. Now, that doesn't mean there's going to be no edits. If I have to go to the bathroom or if I have some really long, boring part where literally nothing is happening on the screen, yeah, sure, I'm going to edit that out. But I really want to just kind of take you guys along for the ride. If I feel like there's something important to talk about, I'll say it. If there's nothing to really say, then maybe you're just going to be watching me place some blocks. But the first thing I have to do before we really get started is I have to restock our shop here in the shopping district. I happen to know that Plato has been by to buy some wind charges, and I think he may have grabbed some honeycomb as well. So I farmed up some trial chambers and grabbed a few more honeycombs just to make sure that everything is topped off back here at Greg's General Store. The build today is a little bit different, and it's gonna look a little bit out of place, I think, in the harbor, but I want to start mixing in some different color palettes. Look at that, he bought rockets too. I forgot about that. We got to restock those. We haven't been selling a lot of rockets. We haven't really been using rockets on the server that much at all. We've got some breeze rods. You can see he bought out this whole thing. I don't think we're going to change the price on these. I know 4 diamonds is a little bit steep for a stack of breeze rods, but these things are really annoying to farm. So if anyone doesn't want to pay those prices, they can feel free to go get some themselves. We're pretty quickly getting a hefty little stash here in season 3, so let's hope that that continues forward. All right, honeycomb is stocked up a little bit. We could use a little bit more there. We've got farms for all this stuff, so I really should be topping this stuff off. Breeze rods are super manual, and so those will pretty much never be topped off. All right, that is all we needed to do here. Now we need to head back to the harbor and see what kind of a material list we're working for. And like I said, I'm bringing you guys along for the whole ride today. So if I gotta go down and mine some diorite, because I know there's a lot in this build, then you're coming with me. I'll try to mix in some music or something for the slower parts and keep it interesting, but it's a little bit different, so you have to let me know what you think of today's episode. This build is very much an example of if you're feeling inspired to do something in Minecraft, just do it. Even if it's not what you planned on doing, and if you had like an idea in your head that you're gonna do this, that, and this, if you ever feel motivated to get in your world and build something, jump on it, because those moments are fleeting, and if you've got inspiration, it's gonna make it so much more fun to build. Don't get me wrong, I love playing Minecraft, and the mega build we're working on right now is awesome, but it's nice to just build something small and cool and have a nice little bow on it at the end of the night. This is really gonna be probably just a 1-session build, at least that's my hope, because I've already pressed the record button. I should have most of the materials, and it's not that big of a build. I haven't been using rockets, but I have been using the little jumps for the elytra lately. All right, let's see. We've got some empty shulkers here. Let's stage these things up and see what kind of a material list I've got. I've already got the schematic loaded up, so we should be able to see pretty quickly here. All right, we don't need dirt. Let me go ahead and clear some of these. Definitely don't want to get dirt. Do I have any grass in here? We can ignore that. Ignore the tall grass. The rest of this should all be good. All right, as expected, mostly diorite, but hopefully we have plenty of that because I pretty much never use it. Again, I don't know exactly how I'm gonna edit this episode, but I have a feeling that I'm probably gonna jump cut through a lot of this part of the video. Again, I wanna bring you through for the whole ride, but I don't think you need to watch me search through my chests or watch me strip wood. If you didn't know, you can hold wood in your offhand, like this warp stem. If you right click to place it and hold down, you'll strip, and then you can just click to mine it, and you can just kind of do this repetitively over and over and over again. And that's been the way that I have gotten stripped wood now for a long time. Looks like we need a little bit more than a stack of this, and I went with, of course, the stripped log style, so we're gonna get, you know, a little bit reduced returns here. All right, we need 58 more, and I think we grabbed a lot of it. Let's see. Yep, okay, so we're gonna have to go farm some of that, which is fine. I expected to have to gather some materials for this build, but this is a bit of a bummer because this is not a fun one to farm, actually. All right, we're gonna get birch leaves. Keep that on the list. Block of quartz. Quartz is something that we can trade for pretty quickly, but I don't usually have a lot on hand because you have to trade for it. So usually what I'll do is I'll trade for the amount I need. Yeah, empty. So we're gonna have to get quartz. Pale oak. I don't know how much pale oak we have, but we do actually have a pale oak farm. Let's see, day 14,544. For any of you who have been tuning in for the last few episodes, you may see a slight reduction in output next week. I am traveling for a business trip, and so I won't be at my PC. I'm going to bring my laptop, so I may be able to get stuff done in the world, but I don't think I'll be able to record it necessarily, so that's not ideal. But don't worry, after that, we'll get right back to at least 2 to 3 videos a week is the goal. So white dye, kind of similar to how I do my stripped logs. You kind of find these like super efficient ways to do stuff. I used to set up stations and things for concrete, or I did the pillar method before, and I've tried all that stuff. But honestly, these days, I just build a 3-block wide like this. I put water on one side, I grab my concrete powder, throw it in my offhand, and I place it and break it. And that's it. I just do this until I've gone through all my concrete. We are going to need some concrete powder, so I gotta make sure I don't go through all of this. Oh, I also meant to look for a cow. This like ominous bottle potion effect is driving me crazy. I really need better ways to get up out of here too. It is so annoying when you fall down here. Right now I have one spot that I can actually jump over this wall without going up the staircase on our dock. And you have to use the elytra jump to even make it, which is kind of annoying, but it's aesthetically pleasing. I know I've seen horses and sheep. Let's go check behind the mega build and see if we can find the cow back there. That would be the only area I can think of. It's not that I've like killed them and eaten them either. I don't think there ever were really any here. I also spend a lot of time here, so they easily could have died from other causes. That one right there. Yeah. Thank you. All right, we don't have to deal with this effect on our screen anymore. It's the little things in Minecraft, you know? We do actually have a horse here. I finally brought one down from the other base, but it's just a little easier to bunny hop around this base. Plus, we have the launcher to get up to the mega base. I kind of forgot just then, but all right, what do we want to go after first? Also, I know I said I was going to show you almost everything for this process, but I'll probably cut out me walking around and mumbling in my storage room for the last 30 minutes. Maybe I'll leave some of those parts in, but that's pretty uneventful, and it's not really good to look at either. Let's see, is that birch? It is. Okay, let's grab our horse actually before we get too far here. This is the moments when not using rockets really starts to feel. Again, I love moving around my world and like, I made these paths, I want to walk on them and see the builds and live in the world. But when you're trying to make a build and you got to get birch wood and you're not next to a birch forest, it would be nice to strap a jetpack on and fly over there, but we're sticking to it for a little while at least until we can't take it any longer. And then, even then, hopefully we don't go fully back to rockets because it is nice to live in the world. These little moments of slight inefficiency are worth it in my opinion. Build's looking big. It's still going to be a lot bigger too, which is pretty crazy. All right, I don't think we're gonna do much with these trees, and this whole area is probably gonna get flattened, so I think we're okay to steal these birch leaves in particular. Don't wander too far, dude. Honestly, this is more accurate to a birch tree anyway. They don't really have branches. They're just like bean poles that are white. At least the ones in our area are like that. All right, first material gathered, and it was an easy one. Birch leaves, check. Where'd our horse go? There he is. These guys really do like to wander on you. You gotta be careful. I had this like grand design when I first did all of this terraforming, and I swapped out all of the grass in this whole area with coarse dirt, thinking that I wanted like a muddy rundown city, but it turns out this coarse dirt texture, it really starts to grate on your brain. So I started converting a lot of the town back to grass, and this area will also get converted back. I still want to make sure we're not like doing a lush area, but the brown is a little bit much, and especially the coarse dirt, it kind of wears on you. I even tried texturing in like rooted dirt and mud and some other stuff. Like this area, we kind of kept it, but it really just didn't work on a huge scale like that. All right, now we need to get quartz and stripped warped hype. Exactly, yes. Where can we tie this guy up that's actually useful? Maybe right here? I feel like I never use him because he's way over there by the shops. Maybe if we cut them right by the house, we'd grab them more often. I actually don't know where the best area for the blue trees is going to be. The quartz, I know, we're just going to run back to the trading hall in our other base. That's going to be the best bet there. I actually don't think I checked this launcher. How's the stock doing here? 54? Okay, this one's still pretty stocked. I've been trying to make sure that whenever I go for these runs, I kind of top off all of my launchers before I stock the store. Because I want to make sure mine are working, to be fair. Okay, let's see. How are we doing on the emerald stock these days? I feel like I haven't actually traded for emeralds in a while. We're getting down to 2 stacks. Block of quartz. Might as well exhaust our trades while we're here, so that next time I need quartz, maybe there's a chance I won't have to come over here and get it. It will be nice once we get the big build and the harbor built, because we're going to start moving our villagers there for trades, so that when we're doing this like material gathering phase of a build, all of the stuff can kind of be right there centralized. It's nice to explore your world like this, but again, if you're trying to make videos and do cool stuff and get builds built and you only have a limited amount of time, there's only so much inefficiency you can actually deal with. Plus, that was never really a good trading hall. I just kind of shoved some villagers underground and got like the most crucial trades. All right, so the nether is one area where having rockets is very nice, but I think we can probably survive without them. I just don't really remember where there's a blue forest. I don't think is there one near season 3? That might be our best bet to head that way. Let me consult the map. We use Zero's world map, by the way, if you weren't aware. Oh, you know what? Over by the trading district is all blue wood. Let's go that way. This iceboat highway has been an absolute godsend. It's a lot of work to get something like this put in your world. And to be clear, we built this thing over time. Like I built the main trunkway from like my base all the way from, I think, through Plato's base and to the harbor. And that was pretty much it, just those like couple hundred blocks of highway. And then from there, anytime that I've built somewhere new, I've kind of extended the highway there. So if I built a farm, I made sure the highway went to that. And then when I got ready for season 3, I extended the highway so that it made it to that. And every time I've done something new here in the Nether, I've just kind of made sure to increase the highway to reach it. So it takes a lot, but if you stay on top of it, it's not too bad. But that initial, when you first like putting the highway in, it is a lot of blocks. But the roof of the Nether is like convenient, and I understand why people use it. And you're always flying around usually with lights up there if people are doing it, but you have to remember where stuff is. And in a forever world like this, there's a lot of stuff. So having a very defined like pathway that you're stuck on, for me, it makes me get lost way less. To each their own though. And our highway is obviously not the most efficient, so there are better ways to do that as well. I've never been a fan of tall trees like this. Just for like the efficiency of mining them up. I don't really know if there's like good ways. Again, probably the good way is to rock it up top, use a hoe to get rid of the cap. Like we really should get our tools and stuff finalized. I know Slip's been wanting to go after netherite, so maybe in the next couple episodes we get our sand gathered for that. I've got plenty of gunpowder. I just need to gather some sand so that we can make all the TNT. And then maybe we go for a little bit of a netherite hunt and just get our gear back up to its max. We've been running with these kind of janky tools for a while, and I think it might be time to get back into the good stuff. For the most part, you really don't need that stuff, but when you're doing bigger builds and you're trying to gather a lot of resources again, having that little bit of efficiency does go a long ways. I don't actually know if we're gonna need these shroom lights, but I've used them before in builds, so while they're convenient, I'll grab them. I'm not gonna go out of my way for it, but it's right there. All right, have we got a stack and a half of this yet? Nope. Kind of a slow tree to gather. I know Plato is going to be selling woods, but I don't think he's doing nether woods, or maybe he is. If he is, that would be nice. The nether woods are one of the more annoying ones to farm. All right, there's that. Now we need fences, which means, oh, we don't want to convert those. Jeez Louise. It's almost time to start placing blocks, which is the fun part. My favorite part of the build is the building, believe it or not. I think that like people get enjoyment from different parts of the process. Some people like to grind out the materials. Some people love the creative design, but for me, there's nothing more satisfying than getting that thing in the world. Don't get me wrong, I love playing Minecraft, but like the satisfaction of a job well done, that's what I enjoy. One for the crafting table gods. All right, where's our boat? We didn't gather any extra, but that's not what we're here for. Today, I'm trying to show you guys all the nuts and bolts of a build process, but I don't need to be going and gathering a bunch of extra resources. In a typical world, I would just stay here and farm a bunch of it, because once you're already here, you might as well just keep chopping until you can't anymore, because then the next time you go to build something, you'll have it. But for today, we're just going to get what we need and get to building. The oxidized doors, those are just going to have to oxidize on the build, because I'm not going to wait for those to oxidize. And the tough brick walls, I guess we just missed those. We'll get those on the way. Again, this build, I don't even really know what its purpose is. And I know that I talk a lot about like having a story to your world, but there's also a place to just get in your world and build stuff that you want to build. And not everything has to be that deep. Something can just look cool. And who knows, maybe we'll get inspired to add a story to it later on. Again, it's kind of a mix up from the palette in the area, so I'm kind of excited to have a little fresh look in the town, and also that means we can kind of experiment more around it to add some like different block varieties. I don't know why I came in here. I don't think we need anything. Actually, we should probably drop our stuff off. I don't really like to have anything in my inventory when I'm building because it's just gonna clutter the area up. Day 14,546. Harbor is coming together. I cannot wait for this thing to be a little bit taller and then get the roof on there. It's gonna be sick. All right, let's get our little staging area set up. What makes the most sense? I mean, I guess I'll flashback this. There's not going to be a flashback replay of the build because you're going to watch me build it live. But I'll turn it on because you never know. Maybe future me will want to make a build video or something like that. We shouldn't need any crafting tables or anything. I think this is a lot of the lower part of the build, but we'll keep that on hand. We need a little bit of everything in our inventory To get started, we'll have to do that. This is all for the road things. We should have some tough. Oh, we never grabbed those tough walls. We're probably gonna need those first too. Again, I just want to have every block we might need ready to rock. That way we're not jumping out of chests a bunch here. And now let's get this build on the screen. First things first, actually, I totally forgot. We have to level the ground out a little bit. Let's get the path blocks figured out here. And then we'll get the floor in place. We just got to get rid of all this red, and then we're going to grab some dirt, because I forgot that we actually tore up the ground a little bit here. This build's a little bit unique in that I don't have the ground prepared. Usually this is something I would do before I even got materials. Let's get all this stuff going. What's up, Wandering Trader? I'm gonna need you to stay over there and not stop me from placing these blocks here in a second. Oh, you know what? That's why we had so much warped wood. The floor is all stripped warped wood. I forgot that I did that. Remember, if you're gonna use a material a lot in your build, just make sure you're thinking about how annoying it is to gather. We're pretty far along in the world, and we've got the ice highway and stuff, so really there's no blocks out of reach for us anymore, for the most part, but you still want to be careful of what you're using to build with. Unless you're willing to just do it, because you'll do anything to make the build what you want it to be. But all right, let's go grab that dirt. This is showing as grass, but it is dirt, so it's not like... Eventually this will convert and match, but I never bother to like silk touch dirt, or silk touch grass, I should say. I just let it convert on its own. Unless I need to like silk touch a couple blocks to like seed the area, I don't really bother. I just let the grass grow. If you ever see awkward pauses in a time lapse when you see me building something, this is why. Because I didn't think of something ahead of time and then had to go like get the materials. Probably just like 2 stacks is hopefully enough because that's all we have room for. And I have been battling this like eyelid issue. It's called a sty, I think is what people call it. But man, it is so annoying. And of course, like I have a dominant eye, and that is the eye that's being affected by this. So it has been brutal to record these videos lately. Hopefully by placing this now, most of this will convert to grass before we actually get to this point. Because I do want to bone meal the grass in the area to grow some, just like our own weeds that we want planted. All right, that should all be good, and that'll convert, and it won't be red anymore once it converts. Now we can start putting in the groundwork here. Again, those are dirt because there's going to be blocks on top of them. Usually what will happen is I'll go through the Lightmatica like this, and I'll build the whole thing. And then when I turn the Lightmatica off at the end of the build, like, oh, whoops, I didn't do that part, or that's messed up. But it gets you pretty close, and it's much, much nicer than like flipping back and forth to your creative test world to check on where blocks are placed, which is how we used to do it back in the good old days. Lightmatica has really changed the game. All right, we didn't get enough dirt. I had a feeling. I think between this and the next episode, we're definitely going to have to go do some cleanup because this is a lot messier than my house ever is. We've got the mega project shulkers here on the wall. I think that is actually from like one of our side quest builds that I never cleaned up. Usually I'll quickly clean up my shulkers, but they've started to gather a little bit on me. I was actually thinking about it, and I guess it isn't the first time we've used a white building block base in the area, because one of the shops over there is actually pale oak. But this has got a lot of like bone block and white concrete, and it's also got that red mangrove roof, which we do have like this little mangrove accent over here. But this is definitely, I think, one of the first builds in this area to use mangrove like this. All right, we're gonna need a lot of that wood. Let's get this cobblestone placed. I don't think cobblestone's used anywhere other than this ground area, so once we get this placed, we can dump all of our cobblestone and free up some slots there as well. We should be good on dirt as well, so we can get rid of that to clear up an inventory slot. It's really a lot of inventory juggling with builds like this because there's just such a variety of blocks. This is actually a good place to put the stuff where we're not thinking we're going to use anymore. Seeds, dirt, that stuff should be good now. All right, we need lots of wood because the floor is all this stripped wood. We need the planks for the perimeter. And then I think we might use some of these slabs and stuff pretty early. I actually don't think we use the strip stuff at all. Let's grab that. Should we stay up all night or should we sleep? We have the mob switch on, so we can build for a little bit. Maybe it'd be nice to build with some atmosphere. That's one of the best parts about having a mob switch is we can really just kind of enjoy the world and we don't have to really worry about it. I will say that it's not always great for YouTube because the compression can be kind of bad on YouTube when it's dark outside. But I think I have my brightness turned up pretty high, so hopefully it's not too bad for you guys. That was not enough wood. Did I miss a whole stack in a different shulker? Ah, yeah, okay. Phew. I was a little scared there for a second. We probably could have honestly done more with this floor and saved ourselves a little bit of hassle with material by doing a different pattern, but I definitely have not designed the interior for this build yet, so that is a little bit lacking. Now we're going to start framing in these walkways and start placing some of this stuff. I actually have a lamppost we're putting in over there too, just like another part of filling out this area. It's just the same lampposts we have here that are throughout this town. We'll put the lanterns down later as well. I like to do lanterns and stuff like that kind of as a finishing touch. Put our doors in. This is actually black stained glass. I don't have that on me. This is like spruce stuff. This gets like attached to the side of the building. That is actually probably better to save for later because it's all spruce block variations. So that'll eat up our inventory to carry that the whole time. What was I gonna grab though? Oh, the leaves. These are a little bit hard to see with my bushy leaf texture. They kind of blend in and turn transparent with Lightmatica, but that's grass. We'll just bone meal that stuff in later. I don't actually gather grass usually for a build, unless I need specific bushes like firefly bushes or something. All right, we'll start making our way up. And from now on, we're gonna start needing scaffolding to get back up on the build every time we need a different block, so. Oh, we didn't grab the glass. The glass will have to go in later as well. We do have the leaves. We can do those. And this is kind of it. This is what behind the scenes looks like building a build in ForeverCraft. Especially a build like this. That's just really just a one-off. There's nothing grand or superb about it. It's just a cool build that I wanted to create. It isn't an especially material heavy build either. Like we didn't need to make a farm or anything. Things like that are what can really make builds take a long time. If you don't already have, like say we were, oh, you know what? Those trapdoors are literally right here and I just put them away. I don't mind doing a lot of the detail blocks at the end, as long as we have like the base building blocks when we're going up. I actually really like, it's like an exterior store shelf. I don't really know exactly what its purpose would be, but I really like the combination I used of like the new shelves with like trapdoors and hanging signs. I really like these little features. You'll see those better obviously when we actually put them on the build, but I also like, I don't know if I've ever really used warp wood with diorite, but this like white blue is also, I enjoy it. And I also. I feel like I said also like 100 times. All right, we are out of polished diorite. We'll have to hop down and grab that. And then we'll top off everything else we have as well. Get these on here. Do we have these signs in our inventory? Just grab that diorite while we're here. I don't think we're to the mangroves all on the roof. We'll grab those trapdoors so we can slap those in place. Is it? Oh, it might be the window sills. It could be stairs. Yeah, because this is polished diorite. This must be the stairs for the window. I didn't realize that we were already at the windows. I actually think these are messed up. Those look like they're facing the wrong way. That's all right. Now we're to these. This is the polished stairs. Shoot. Of course, we just climbed back up. It's all right. I didn't bring a lot of extra resources, so we can't have too many dropsies. All right, I wanted to sleep this night away anyway. Ah, we're there. We made it to the mangrove. Should we place these so they start oxidizing as well? They're gonna look a little bit out of place here. Those will oxidize and turn green and look cool, I promise. Should probably make sure they're not waxed. All right, so we need diorite stairs, polished diorite, and quartz block. Is that not everything we had anyway? What am I missing here? All right. Let's actually pick this up. Now let's get some of these detail blocks in. Dump some of this stuff. Should be good on all stuff diorite and mangrove. I know we're gonna need the flower pots, we're gonna need the azalea bushes, and we need everything spruce. So what I did here was like a couple rows of upside down stairs to look like shelving. And then I did like a back wall of shelving and then another kind of framing of shelves. I just thought that like really nice, and the shelves also work really nice. Like this is something we would traditionally do with like trap doors. I think the shelves also just kind of have a nice little like side profile. And then I just threw some hanging signs across up here as well. Let's put these in here. Just like that. Just a fun little, like, I don't know, you'd put your goods or something there, or advertising, I don't know. I don't even know if it's a store. I just know that it looked cool in the picture and I wanted to build it in the world. Again, it wasn't like a Minecraft build picture, it was just kind of like a random Pinterest concept art, but I just thought that would make a really cool Minecraft build, and so, here it is. I don't know why it's not letting me place those. I feel like that should definitely just auto place. We'll do it manual. Again, we haven't designed the interior yet, so there probably will be a better way than just like putting lanterns on the floor here, but I wanted it to be a little lit up, so for now, it's lanterns on the floor. It's like your first day in a new apartment, right? You don't have the furniture yet, but the house is there. All the glass, all the lanterns, windowsills are in. I don't see anything missing here. That all looks good. Probably don't have the blocks on us right now. What is this? Tough brick walls, a spruce fence post, and a bunch of spruce stuff. We never went and grabbed those tough brick walls. Let's go grab those. Lamppost is in. I have been killing most of the flowers in the area, so we're not going to leave any flowers. Just looking to get some grass here. All right, that looks pretty good. This is looking a little barren. We'll fill this in with some grass as well. Pop these flowers out of here. And Bob is your uncle. And there it is, start to finish. I saw a cool thing on the internet and thought that would make a pretty fun Minecraft build. And then we came here, we got all the stuff we needed, and we built it. I don't even know what it is, but I felt like it would be a fun build, and it's kind of a cool mix-up for the area. I think if we get a couple more builds around here that have like varying palettes and not just tough and spruce, it won't stick out so much. Right now it's a little bit showy in the area, but I think when we really get a harbor and a whole city built around here, hopefully it just blends into the background. But that is a pretty cool build if you ask me. And I really wanted to build it, and that's really the only reason you need. Let me just take the thumbnail real quick here. Just kidding, I probably won't use that, but that would be fun if it actually looks good enough to use. Thumbnails take forever, by the way, if you didn't know that about YouTube. All right, I have absolutely no idea how I'm gonna edit this thing. It may be a full straight shot out of the camera and into your hands, or I may edit out some of the really dull parts that happened, and you'll never know because you won't see them. I'm just kidding. The cuts will probably be obvious. I'm not that good of an editor. But if you enjoyed this, then that's awesome. I don't know how many of this type of videos I'll do, but this one was fun, and every once in a while, it's kind of nice to mix in something different. So don't worry, the regular episodes are here to stay. We'll go back to the 20 to 30 minute, a little bit edited, a little bit more curated videos, but I thought I'd sneak one of these in here just so you guys could see kind of the full process. And I just really wanted to get this thing built, so we got a twofer. You made it this far in the episode, I appreciate it. Thanks for sticking around. Have a good one. It's important to remember, if you're gonna dive into something as massive as a forever world in Minecraft, there's gonna be times when you're super motivated and want to just get stuff done in your world. And there's gonna be times when you're not motivated, and there's just nothing you really want to log in to do. And that's why it's important to know that it's okay to take breaks. Sometimes, a little bit of distance can be just the right thing to make you motivated to want to hop back in there and jump on that thing that you left incomplete. The biggest thing to remember here is that time is not an issue. Because in this world, we have Forever. Hey, welcome to ForeverCraft, and today we're putting the next tier on the big build. I should have a lot of these materials, but we may have to go out in the world and collect a little bit more stone and iron. This next tier is a very similar pattern to this with the big windows, except for obviously these doorways up front are quite a bit different. First things first, let me go take inventory and see if we have everything we're gonna need to build this next piece. Man, it feels good to be back in the world. I've been gone for the last week on a business trip, and it's funny, a little bit of time away from your world can really help reignite your drive to get in there and get something done. Wasn't a break I intended to take, but sometimes a forced break even can be a good thing. All right, let's see what we need for materials here. All right, so it turns out we actually have everything we need, so we can get right to building this thing. Let me set up our little shulker station down here so that we're good to go to build this. I need to go through and recolor some of my shulkers. I started doing this light gray, and now Plato has claimed light gray as his shulker color. So to be fair, I have used white for a long time, so we'll just stick to the white for now. We are gonna need a little bit of everything, unfortunately. I happen to know the first few layers are pretty heavily just stone. But then when we start getting to the windows, we're gonna need the iron rods. We're gonna need a whole bunch of stone bricks. Let's just load up with a bunch of this stuff to start, and hopefully we don't forget any major pieces, because jumping up and down is really annoying. I've been doing some thinking, and my inventory is starting to become a bit of a nuisance where I'm releasing these projects super fast. So I'm starting to think I may actually dedicate one wing of this build to our storage/sorting system. I've had a multi-item sorter thing designed for a while now. Well, to be clear, I did not design a multi-item sorter, but I got the blueprint from someone on YouTube. I can't remember the channel exactly, but I'll try to link it when we actually build the thing. But what I'm trying to say is I need to put that somewhere in our world, and this is a huge space, and it is very tall. So I could see doing villager trades on one side and then storage on the other. It also probably would fit on one level of the build, so it can either be in the basement or in the middle tier or in the next tier we're about to build. Probably makes more sense to be able to walk right in these big doors and have our storage right there, so that's probably where I'm going to put it. Then we'll have all the villager trades and stuff over here, and then, who knows, that's going to be a lot of interior space to fill up the rest of it. Now, I'm already seeing a lot of walls, which is a bit concerning. Those look like cobblestone walls. Maybe you want to grab a couple more of those. All right, let's put this scaffolding somewhere convenient so we can get back up and down easily. Right here's probably good. I have a whole bunch of ideas for a new build style that I want to start tackling. It's kind of like a post-apocalyptic style, but unfortunately, obviously that doesn't necessarily fit in any of our current areas. Uh-oh, we're already missing something. Stone, shoot. Well, at least it was the first block and not when we got really far around. I don't think there's much stone, but there's a few in spots in the corner, so probably just a stack or two. What was I saying? Oh yeah, post-apocalyptic build area. I think I want to do it in a swamp. The builds are gonna kind of all be up on stilts. One for protection in a post-apocalypse, say it's a zombie apocalypse, right? Kind of makes sense to have some elevation, so I think that could be cool. And then, oh look, it is windows on this level. Shoot. Well, oh, and these are polished andesite stairs. Well, we're gonna get those after. But I really think that a post-apocalyptic, I'm gonna get them now actually. I think that could be a really fun build style, and it also lends itself to Minecraft. Minecraft, I feel does very well with grungy builds, if that makes sense. If they look kind of disheveled and damaged in some way, I feel those are easier to sell. Did I say polished? I think so. Hopefully that's the right block. I feel it's easier to show wear and tear in Minecraft than to show something that's perfectly clean, because then the textures look a little flat. But if you can mix in cobblestone or put in chunks of the wall missing, it's actually a little bit easier to detail some of that stuff in a way, which is kind of counterintuitive, I think, sometimes. But yeah, I've just been really into that appeal, and I've always wanted to build zombie survival, but not Minecraft zombie survival, Dawn of the Dead zombie survival, right? And that could be a perfect area to do that. And that means that we can do some pretty cool narrative stuff there, I think too. If we want to put some story behind the area, I feel just, Apocalypse really goes a long ways. It gives characters a lot of motivations for unique builds that we could do, ways that they're going to get water or ways that they could traverse without being in danger. Anyway, that's just a thought, but it's going to be another area. And I know that we're kind of hot and heavy here in the harbor, building this mega build, and we also built that cool little build down there last episode. But I think it might be time for a small change of pace here soon, just to mix things up a little bit. I don't have the roof of this thing designed yet, and I really wanted to cap this off before we moved along, but I also never want to risk burning out in Minecraft, so if I'm not feeling motivated to do it, I'm not going to make myself. And right now, I don't have a good idea of how I want to do the interior in this build, and I also don't have a good idea of how I want to do the roof. I have some of it designed and I'm pretty happy with it, but it's not there yet. So that may be a little bit before we actually complete this thing. I think once we get this tier done, honestly, this thing is going to look pretty impressive from the ground. It is very big. And it's very imposing on the entire area, which is what I wanted. Obviously, I'm excited to have the interior done on it and have the roof and have it be a functional build. But it is very big, and when you're doing big stuff like this, you really got to be careful not to just grind yourself to nothing. And as I kind of talked about last episode, I'm feeling really inspired to build in that new style. And so I'm going to jump on that inspiration while it's here and just get to it. I don't know why there's black concrete here, but that is definitely not supposed to be black concrete. So strike while the inspiration's there has kind of always been my motto in Minecraft. So we're going to go work on that area, most likely next episode. So if that's intriguing to you, stay tuned because that's where we're going next, I think. We have a mangrove swamp where we all kind of gather mangrove wood. And I think that that is the location I'm going to use. One, because the trees are already cut down, which is a pretty annoying task, especially in a mangrove swamp. Those trees are really annoying to deal with. This is the problem with building with Axiom is I know that I probably designed one of the first windows here and copied it across, which means we got this stupid black concrete everywhere now probably because I kept using it to design all the windows in the area. Just kind of shows you when you're building something like this in creative mode and designing it to be careful because you're going to have to recreate that thing in survival. So make sure you're careful not to place a bunch of blocks out of place or use something that you didn't mean to. I've also done this before where I use like waxed copper that's aged instead of regular, and that means that you have to manually place that as well because Lightmatica thinks that it's a different block because it's not the waxed version. I also want to do more shopping district builds. I don't necessarily have inspiration for those currently though, I will say. Like I think we really need to get the like street design for like the strip mall section, where it's going to be like a bunch of shops all in a row down a street. And once we have that infrastructure in place, I'll feel a lot safer building my build. I know anything can be moved and adjusted, but the more stuff we build there, the less room we have to change things in the future without having to like move a build. Moving a Minecraft build is not a fun task. We definitely need to get on Plato about getting his woodshop up and running as well, because I'm already kind of seeing and the design elements for those builds in that new area, there's going to be a lot of wood, and there's also going to be a lot of mangrove wood. So we also need to get on Panda to get some kind of mangrove shop opened. He has the farm, so it's just a matter of him getting it for sale somewhere convenient. I know Plato's been hounding him for a bunch as well, so hopefully he's ground some up. I'll have to reach out and see if he's got any available. I feel like maybe I haven't overstated it enough. These big builds take forever. I'm at about, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes per layer right now, and I realize that I'm not the most efficient. Like, even then, even if I was perfectly efficient, I don't think we're beating maybe 7 minutes a layer. Times, 30 layers. That adds up really quick. And before you know it, just the block placing alone is a massive undertaking. So if you're ever going to tackle something like this, just remember it will take a very, very long time. It's going to be cool. That's what I just got to keep telling myself. When this thing's done, it's going to be so cool. I have noticed myself losing motivation on this build pretty frequently, and I'm starting to think that it has a lot to do with the fact that I don't have it fully designed. And I'm starting to think that that's just not an option for me. You see, my brain really likes things that are complete and nice with a bow on top. And because this is like an open loop, a thing that I still have to do like the creative design work for, I just really think that's starting to like hurt my motivation for the build in general. So this may be the first and last build I ever start putting blocks down before I've actually designed the thing fully. I think because I don't have a target to aim for a finished product, I just feel like I'm placing blocks and I'll never reach the end because I don't even have the end designed yet. So, make sure if you know things about yourself to stick to it. But we're committed and we're going to keep placing these blocks at least until we get this section done. And then I don't think I'm gonna place a single additional block on this build until I've designed the interior, I've designed the roof, and we've got everything ready to go that we can really just finish this thing off. Because remember, in this world, we have forever. There's no rush to get any of these individual pieces complete because there's a million things I want to build. And this is just one of them. So I've been thinking about streaming some on the YouTube channel. This is something I've always been kind of afraid of doing, and I have done them before here and there, but I always worry that like somehow that could impact like the YouTube algorithm. And I know Whip especially made a video not that long ago mentioning that he was seeing an impact from streaming on his long form videos, which is like terrifying to me as a smaller creator especially. I already don't get a huge push, so like the fact that it could impact that is a little bit terrifying. But I do enjoy streaming occasionally, and I'd really like to do that more often. So I think I may take the risk and do a few short streams on the channel. So if you're interested in that, let me know down in the comments. I don't know the timings would be. It's going to be in the evenings on Eastern time, so sometime around that time frame. And I also don't know, I may do it almost like a live recording. I think Plato actually mentioned this to me, so sorry if I'm stealing your idea, Plato, but I think like a live recording of an episode, or at least part of an episode, could be interesting. And that would allow me to like make progress on the long form videos and also just kind of hang out with people in the community while I'm making the stuff. I can already tell that this episode feels super weird. It's not very often I go to make something like this and have all of the materials. Now this is a pretty unique situation because I've built other parts of this already, which means I already gathered and prepped all those blocks. That's why we had everything, but it's kind of like a weird flow to the episode where it's like, all right, now let's build it. And I feel like this whole episode is just going to be me placing blocks in this build. So I hope you enjoy the build process. Did I mention that this build is, I don't know, kind of big? Man, this thing is a grind, but I am super happy with how it's turning out so far, and I cannot wait to get the rest of it designed and built. But like I said a few moments ago, I don't think I'll be doing any more building in the world until this thing is fully designed. So the next episode that we work on this thing, it will be to finish it. Or at least get it to a finished state that I would consider finished. Nothing's ever quite finished in a Minecraft survival world, but it could be a lot closer than it is now. Although I will say, even without a domed roof, which is what I imagine the roof is going to look like, this thing still is very imposing and fits pretty well here. I actually don't hate the flat roof, but I want to do some creative testing and make sure that I have this thing exactly how I want it, because this was a lot of work to not love the final product. Here it is, another layer of the mega build complete, and one step closer to this thing being done. But that is all I have time for in this episode. If you made it this far, I appreciate you. Thanks for sticking around. Have a good one. The reality of playing in a forever world is that things will go wrong. You'll lose items, die at the worst times, moments that feel frustrating when they happen, but those setbacks are small, temporary, because progress here isn't measured by how long it takes, but instead it's measured by what you create. Every setback becomes part of the journey, shaping the world in ways that you couldn't plan. So while it can be frustrating to lose a bunch of time, you just have to remember that around here, time isn't an issue, because around here, we have forever. Hey, welcome to ForeverCraft. I've done some thinking, and I think it's time to move to a new area. We're at a good spot to walk away from the mega build until we get the rest of this thing designed, and I have just really been craving a new area in our world with like a totally different build design and build palette. So I think we're gonna head to the swamp. Now you'll also notice I have absolutely nothing in my inventory and nothing on my hotbar. That's because moments ago, I lost everything that was on my person, including a significant amount of copper for this next build. And well, that's not ideal. So step one in today's episode is going to be to get all of our gear back, which means I think we're going to have to go hit up our new redesigned Ender. What happened was I was working on this netherrack pad. This is going to be the next boat path that goes to this new area that I'm talking about. And well, I was placing netherrack, and then misplaced or didn't place one and literally just walked into the lava. And since I haven't been carrying rockets or anything, it was a lake like this. And I had no way to get to shore. I tried a little bit, I ate some carrots, but there was just nothing that was going to save me. It is what it is. Thus is Minecraft. So first things first, I'm going to head to the end, get a whole bunch of experience. Actually, I'll probably go to season 2 first here. Go to my traders, get a whole new set of diamond armor. Then we'll go to the end and start kind of enchant all this stuff. With all the trades that I have for like protection and mending, this should be a pretty quick process. It is a little bit annoying, but honestly, my enchants were kind of mediocre anyway. I didn't take the time to like really get my gear right. So I think while I'm already doing this anyway, I'm just crafting a full piece of gear. We might as well make sure we do this one fully correctly. First things first, I'm gonna head over to our traders and get a full set of diamond armor and tools, and then we'll head to the end to get a whole bunch of levels to get all this stuff enchanted up. And just like that, we've got a full set of armor and tools for just some few of our emeralds. Do an initial enchant on all my armor and tools, and then we'll come back here and get mending and all that good stuff to fill out our tools and get these things squared away. One of the things on my to-do list was to get an actual enchant set up here at the Ender. And of course, I did not get to it before this mishap. Also, I grabbed an extra pickaxe here, but now that I'm looking, our fortune pickaxe was still in our ender chest, so we actually didn't need all of these. Let's rip all these enchants off in this grindstone while we're here as well. All right, that was not the detour I expected to start this episode with, but we've got new armor, which I can't see on a horse. We've got all of our new armor, all of our new tools. Now let's go to what we were actually going to work on today. Maybe it's kind of fitting that we lost every single thing in our inventory just before we start building our new post-apocalyptic themed area. This is kind of a theme I've wanted to explore for a long time, and I think a swamp could be a really cool place to like demonstrate this. I've always liked the game State of Decay. It's just like another zombie survival game. I like that very like slapstick, like we threw up some boards and some fences and a lot of the buildings are falling down, but some of them are still pristine. That like post-apocalyptic world kind of after humanity, I think loans itself really well to Minecraft. And I think it's going to make for a really cool build area here. As you can see, I've started laying down the baseline for the highway to the portal, but we do not have a highway yet. I think we have all the materials for this. I just need to put the blocks down. I'm sure once I actually start getting here and start building this thing, we'll want to get this thing up and running because it is a bit of a little hike down through here. But on an ice boat, this is actually not too long of an ice boat path. This will be a pretty quick trip from our main base. This build isn't super material expensive, except it requires a pretty significant amount of weathered copper. And of course, I dropped all of it into the lava because it was in my inventory during the event. But this is going to be the site of our new build area right here. We're gonna get a bunch of firefly bushes, a very swamp wet area. I do think I will get a pretty significant amount of dirt and connect up some of these land masses. I don't love it being like 80% water. I'd prefer it to be more like 25% water probably. But again, it's still a good baseline for the area, and I think we're gonna be able to do a lot with this. First build and the whole area is going right there. It's kind of like an abandoned building, and it's more set dressing for the area, but I want to get a build in place to kind of set the tone. And then the build after this one is going to be probably our pseudo base for the area, which will be much larger and take a lot longer. But I want to get this piece in so that there's something to complement our big build when we build that next. This is also kind of me practicing with this new build style and kind of figuring out what kind of palette we were going to use in this area and how we're going to shape, size, and design all these builds. But I need to go get a whole bunch of copper, some mangrove wood, which luckily this is a swamp and right next door is a mangrove swamp, and a few other things like mud blocks, which we can also get from another swamp. So it's time to get a little bit of material gathering on And then we're going to start building this new build in this new area. We're also going to need a name for this place, so if you've got a cool post-apocalyptic town name, let me know. We're also going to have to go and upgrade our bee farm because I was also, of course, holding all of our beeswax for this build in my inventory. Not ideal. Don't walk around with all your build materials. That's a lesson I've learned the hard way before. And obviously I didn't learn the lesson very well. If you've got a very annoying resource and a whole bunch of it in your inventory, be careful, especially when you're building a single block path over a lake of lava. On a side note, I think this fortress is actually pretty decent for a wither skeleton farm. I know it's not in a soul sand valley entirely, but it's a huge lava lake, which means there's not many mobs that can spawn around like this intersection here. So I think this could actually be really good for wither skeletons. We'll still have to spawn proof this little basalt area, but I think it could actually be doable. All right, I've recollected all the copper and we have all of the beeswax now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stacks is what we're gonna need. Now, here's the tricky part. I need the weathered version of copper. So I'm gonna need to place all of this copper. I'm gonna have to scratch off the finish, get it to the weathered state, and then re-wax it. And I don't really know what is the best way to handle that. Now, at least in this case, we're actually removing some of the weathered, so we don't have to wait for time to pass. But I think the best way to do this, unfortunately, is gonna be to just put it all down on the ground, manually scratch it all, and then manually re-wax it. Because I don't think there's a good way to like hold an axe and an offhand and then scratch it twice. Then we need to switch to a pickaxe. I think that's just gonna be too annoying. So I think what I'll do is I'll just place it like this, and we'll just place all of this copper. Then I'll go through, scratch it all off, and then go through and wax it all. Kind of annoying, but that's just the way it is. All right, all of it is placed. Now I'm gonna go through with my axe and get it all to this proper state, which I should probably double check is the right weathered state for the build. Well, I'm glad I went and double checked because it is actually the next state. That would have been really unfortunate. I believe this should be the waxed exposed cut copper. Waxed exposed cut copper. Okay, that is what we need for the build. Now I just need to make a whole bunch more of it. I love copper blocks, but I also hate working with copper blocks. That's all right. We got them all placed, waxed, and carved down to the right weathered state. Now we need to go get some mud, and luckily our swamp is right next to a mangrove swamp. I don't need more than like 2 stacks, so I think with a shovel, we should pretty quickly be able to gather a whole bunch of mud. And I think other than that, we should have most of the materials on hand. There's a little bit of mangrove, a little bit of pale oak, which I'm pretty sure we have at least a stack of each of those. Let me double check real quick, I guess. Yeah, we got a couple stacks of pale oak logs, and we've got a couple stacks, or at least almost 1 stack. It's not very much mangrove in the build. That's probably enough. So really just get this mud collected, and I think we'll be able to start building this new build. I might actually do my first stream in a long time today and start working on this boat path to the new area. If I do decide to stream it and you stop by, thanks for stopping in to say hi. And I don't know, I may mix those in more or less. We'll see. I guess it really depends on how this one goes that hasn't and may not happen yet. All right into the mangrove swamp. You know what else I just thought of? We actually need a whole bunch of vines. Do I have any shears in here? Perfect. I need to get some of these vines as well for the build, and this is kind of a good twofer. We need mud, and we need this, which I think is like muddy mangrove root is what it's called. Yeah, we need that as well. So I don't know, can you craft that? You can craft it with mangrove roots and mud. So that actually might be faster than trying to specifically hunt it out. We'll just grab some of this as well. All right, that should be enough vines and mud and roots and all that good stuff here from the swamp. I think that gets us everything we're gonna need out and about in the world. Why is there a chicken here? There's another chicken here. Now we need to go back to the harbor and pick up the rest of the materials that we're gonna need. This is the dreaded spot where I lost all of my stuff to begin this episode, by the way. I was placing this block. I must have like actually just finished the corner or something. I don't know. Somewhere in this area I plunged. I tried to swim for that little gravelly coast over there, but I think I only made it to like right there. I had some fire protection on me, but not enough. Oh, actually, maybe it was this block right here. That's probably what it was. Somehow I placed these ahead of this and then just stepped right into it. All right, I think we have everything we're gonna need to get this thing in the world. Let's head to the swamp and start building this thing.
I'm going away, love. I'm going to leave you. I'm
first build in our plagued lands. Still a few more details we gotta go over here and put on, but that is the structure. You can see it's a very, very like worn and torn building. This one, I don't even know if we'll use it for anything other than a place to sleep, but I do have an idea so that we can make it actually a usable building, at least a little bit. I'm gonna put a launcher down here at the base, so that way if we ever wanna go in there real quick to sleep or something when we're in the area, we'll have that as an option. Also, I think I need more boats around here. I've been swimming back and forth to get in here, and it's been a bit of a pain. All right, where is a good spot for this launcher? We have to be able to catch that landing. So, like, we want to be straight up near that. I'm thinking just somewhere like right here. We could even do it down in this hole. How's that look overhead? I think this should be fine, technically. All right, let's see if this gets us to the right height. Whoa, actually it shoots us way up out of the roof. That's perfect. So now we at least have a way to get up here on the build, especially since we're not really carrying rockets these days. All right, where's the landing? How is this thing to catch? Honestly, I almost wish maybe we should try to use 3 wind charges and see if that gets us to a better spot. There's no real interior to this build yet, but we can leave a bed and a lantern here. So that way we have another place in the world that we can pit stop and get our rest on. Because we have no infrastructure in this area right now, it's just a big open empty swamp. I think that's a ruined portal. I didn't know that was there. But the next big build is going probably over here somewhere, because I want this to kind of be a background build for that build. The other thing I want to do is we need to get the foliage down here on the ground figured out, but I wanted to put a lantern in here. Hopefully lighting wise, this kind of just looks like someone's camping out in here. And again, it's not really meant to be a permanent residence. We get that. Now we're gonna need bone meal to go and figure out all the ground stuff. I always kind of treat this as the final step in my builds, is like really cementing them into the world by putting a bunch of like bone mealed grass and stuff around the bottom of them. We're gonna be a little picky and choosy about what grows, but this one is supposed to be a very overgrown build. So I want this thing to be pretty dense with grown. I mean, you can see we have vines all over it and things like that. We got mushrooms and things like that. Oh, broke the mushroom. I also want how was that mushroom even planted? Now I can't plant it anywhere. There we go. The other thing I want to do is the seaweed down here. This area is looking a little barren, so I think if we cover this like flat dirt with more grass, that'll look a little nicer as well. There, that's already feeling much, much better. I love this like little pops of blue we're getting from these too. Again, I want this to be like far, far after whatever the apocalyptic event was, so things are overgrown. Society has kind of started rebuilding. Let's see what this looks like from back here now. Oh yeah, that looks way better. And there it is. Another build where I just saw this like reference photo and I just had to create it in Minecraft. And man, I'm super happy with how it turned out and I cannot wait to build a bunch more stuff in this area. But that is all I have time for in this episode. If you made it this far, I appreciate you. Thanks for sticking around. Have a good one.